Hello everybody. Welcome to the stream. We're just now getting started. We're going to give everybody a little bit of time to get here to get the notification. You guys go ahead and start tapping the screen. Let's get some hearts flowing across the holler goblin and get some people in here. Who all we got? We got Elle, hello. I see Holly, I see Harry. Hi, Wendy. Thank you, Holly. You know what I forgot to do? Treasures, hello. Welcome. Alright guys, it looks like some people are starting to get the notifications, so now is the time. Tap, tap, tap the screen. Tap as much as you possibly can. Do some snoop boops. Oh, thank you, Harry. Snoop boop the holler goblin. Tap on his beak and send him some hearts. And the more hearts means more people, means more ghost stories. And that's what we want tonight. We want some spooky stories. But I'll tell you what, guys. I don't know if you all were here last week, but we had the best guest that I think we've ever had on the stream last week. He came on and he told us a story about his Dogman encounter, and then he proceeded to tell us how he was going to hunt Dogman, and he was very descriptive about it, and it was quite possibly the most iconic guest appearance of all time on this stream. So if you guys want to see more wild stuff like that, tap that screen and let's get people in here. The guest box is open. Elle, actually, I posted it, so you can actually watch the replay. There's two ways you can do that. You can go over to the other video platform and you can watch it there, or if you hit the subscribe button here on TikTok, it's in the subscriber-only videos. Hey, Tully. So yeah, a couple ways you can see it. Thank you, Treasures. I appreciate that. Let me just open up some stuff here real quick. Alright guys, if you are new here, we do ghost stories, paranormal stories, extraterrestrial stories, cryptid stories, unexplained stories. I'm probably going to take Glitch in the Matrix stories off because we don't really get too many of those, I feel like. I don't know, what do you guys think? Should I leave it? Or, because honestly, like, it's kind of a new concept to me. How is everyone doing? Spectre, I'm doing well. How are you? Guys, I'm so looking forward to this. I really, really hope that we get another wild and crazy Dogman story tonight. You know what? You know how we always manifest an episode? Like, we'll say, like, we want haunted house stories or we want Ouija board stories. Tonight, I think what we need more Dogman hunting in the American South. That's what we need. By the way, can you guys hear me okay? Oh, from Scotland. Very cool. Hello, Polly. Yeah, okay. Okay, good. Alright, because I'm only doing one earbud tonight because, like, I can't hear very well when I put them both in, so I feel like I'm really loud. Loud and clear. Okay, good. Very good. Alright, guys, tap that screen, send some hearts. Let's get some people in here. Southern Oklahoma, yeah. You know what? For some reason, Holly, I keep imagining that guy is like, I don't know, on the muddy banks of Louisiana or something. Like, I feel like he just said Oklahoma to throw us all off, when realistically, he's down south. Looked at a picture about and had a bad feeling about somebody. No, I can't say that I ever have, but, you know, maybe somebody in here has experienced something like that. You never know. So the guest box is open, guys. We do paranormal stories, extraterrestrial stories, cryptid stories, unexplained stories. Apparently we also do Glitch in the Matrix stories, but that one's debatable. We also, here's the thing, I would love to just tolerate some hilarious troll stories, but they have to be hilarious. They have to be good ones. So if you're going to come up and be a troll, make it good. And preferably about Dogman. Oh my god. Wow, okay. Yeah, it's gonna be a no for me, dog. I don't know what's up with your username, but that makes me kind of uncomfortable. Thank you, Tully. Yeah, sorry, it's gonna be a no for me. Treasures. Yeah, you probably should just go now. Um, hey,
Hey, how
treasures.
you doing?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic, thanks. So I don't have a Dogman story. I actually, until your life, never even heard of Dogman before. Uh, but I do have some Bigfoot stories, courtesy of my dad. Uh, he is now an avid Bigfoot hunter.
Oh,
He's roped my
interesting.
nephew into it now too, so they have fun. But it started because uh, in Eastern Oregon, he draws a tag to go deer hunting like every 2 years, and they'd always kind of experienced weird stuff around their campsite, but they'd never seen anything. And one year, he was split up from my family. The rest of my family was with him, and was walking down a trail and just saw a deer carcass in the middle of the path. And it's a path that they had kind of made over just years of being there. Uh, and so there's just a deer carcass laying in the middle of the path, and it doesn't have its head. And a deer carcass laying there, not without a head, not super weird in itself. There are a lot of poachers out in that area, so unfortunately that does happen. So he walked past it and didn't really think anything about it. And then about 2 hours later, he's walking back down the trail, going to meet up with the guys again. And the carcass is still there, only this time, right in front of it, in the middle of the path, the head was now sitting in front of it, like facing towards the direction that he was walking back in. So he's like, okay, well that's super weird. An animal's not going to drag a head back to the carcass, and neither is a poacher. So okay, what the hell? So the rest of the time they're there, they're hearing weird, like whooping sounds surrounding their campground, and can't ever figure out where it's coming from, and it's not normal animal noises. And they thought maybe there's another person out there messing with them. So they went driving around, and no, there's nobody for miles that they can find. No campsites for miles. They haven't seen signs of other people, but every night they continue hearing the sound. My dad goes back home and kind of looks it up to see if he can find the sound, and the only thing that he can find that describes it is people's accounts of Bigfoot. And he's like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure that that's what I encountered. So he became like an avid Bigfoot enthusiast after that, and had heard a lot about the part of Oregon that we live in. Also, there being sightings, so he started going out into the woods and just walking around to see if he could encounter it again, while also investigating every time he goes up to his hunting spot. And they ended up moving kind of into the middle of the woods here. And he was out one night chopping wood, and in the woods behind their house just started hearing that same whooping sound. And it sounded like it was coming from all around him, and then it started making like monkey sounds, like there is a chimpanzee swinging from the trees behind the house, which obviously in Oregon you're not gonna find that. So he walked into the woods to figure out what was going on, brought his pew pew with him just in case, and he found a bunch of, like a half a mile away from where the house is, found a bunch of weird structures, like, yeah, it's in Oregon. Uh, like something had built a bunch of random structures in the middle of the woods, and right on top of one of these structures, so it's a bunch of like trees that have been pushed over, and you can tell they've actually been pushed out of the ground and not chopped down because all of the roots are still attached to the bottom of these trees. So something has physically pushed these trees down. But right at the top of, so there's 2 trees kind of off to the side that have been pushed down, and then right over the top of them, someone has picked up another tree and like laid it over the top. So it's this weird like archway. And right at the top, there are 2 deceased squirrels that have been flattened, like something just like mashed them in between 2 giant hands or stomped on them or something, and put it right at the top of the structure on either side. Also, super weird thing. Nobody who does that. So as he's investigating this, and he's trying to figure out how the hell they got up there and why they look like that, and just being my dad, something starts making those whooping sounds again and starts pushing trees down around him, where he's like actively in danger, where these trees are falling a foot minimum away from him. So he kept going up there and kept trying to find Bigfoot, kept trying to actually see Bigfoot. And the last time he went up there, it was with my nephew, who is only 11 years old now, because he didn't think that they were in any actual danger, only for something to start doing the tree pushing thing again. This time, though, the tree almost fell directly on my nephew, and my dad had to pull him out of the way. So now they don't go up there anymore, but they still hear those sounds once or twice a week surrounding the house.
Wow, that is, that sounds like every earmarking of Bigfoot presence that I'm familiar with. That's really, holy cow. I don't even know. That is crazy. That's like everything all in one spot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The lean-tos and you said the whooping. Did they hear tree knocks, did you say?
No tree knocking he's ever mentioned. Oh, I did forget one part of the most important part of the story, and why he believed it was Bigfoot in the hunting area in Eastern Oregon. When he was walking back down this path, saw a footprint that was about 3 times the size of any normal human footprint. My cousin is like 6'7", played football, and he was a size 18 shoe, and it was double the size of his foot. And my dad actually still to this day has the cast of that foot. He went back to the campsite and got the cement that they used to, they would like cement posts at their campsite, but he went and mixed cement and made a cast of it, and he still has it today.
That's really cool. That is really, really cool. Do they have like any trail cams or anything put out by any chance?
Yeah, he has set out trail cams. He has like 4 of them surrounding the property. Still hasn't caught anything yet. He thinks that they recognize them now, that they know what they are, so they stay away from them. That's his theory anyways.
Yeah, the thing is, I think when it comes to trail cams, and I don't know, maybe you might want to tell him this, because I think a lot of people don't think about it, is that they have a human smell on them. So I always tell everybody, if you're going to try to put out a camera or any type of device in the woods, barring the problem with the sound that it makes, because a lot of cameras make a sound, and animals, of course, would be sensitive to that because it's artificial. It's not something from nature. Maybe rub it down with some deer pee or something. It sounds crazy, I know, but yeah, but it's got a human smell on it. So anything that smells out of place, and they probably have a heightened sense of smell, being primates of some sort. So, but that is really cool story.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I tell it to everyone I meet that's interested in the paranormal stuff, because I've had a lot of ghost experiences, but they just having my nephew there as a witness, and all my uncles and stuff, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we really appreciate you. Did you have any other stories you wanted to share, or?
Nope, I'll let someone else come up. I've got stories I'll share another time, but thank you for letting me come up.
Alrighty, sounds good. Thank you. Very cool, guys. Very, very cool. All right, guys, tap the screen. Let's get the numbers up. I feel like TikTok's just gonna be slow at night throughout the summer. Like our numbers are like half of what they usually are at this point. But we got to get some people in here to get some stories going. So keep tapping. Also, spam the comments with I don't know, with some Bigfoot emojis or something. I got a strange feeling about this one because I think I saw them in the comments a minute ago. Hello, stars and sprinkles or whatever. How are you?
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, I thought you couldn't hear me. I'm sorry. Yeah. Hi.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a spooky story for us?
Yeah, it's a quick one, to be honest.
Okay.
All right. So there's this one day that I was like 16 on my phone in the living room. Um, when I was by myself, I believed in God. I believed in a lot of good stuff that happened in my life because I was so grateful from the experiences that I witnessed. And little by little, I was just like wearing off on through my phone on social media. And it got silent because I live next by to the highway, and from the room of my mom's, the door was opened, and all of a sudden, two claps were made in that house. I was told that somebody was murdered in that house, but I didn't believe it. But two claps I heard exactly coming from the house, and that's like that's like when I started like realizing like is death and fear like really living with me right now that I feel it so heavy. And you know, all those thoughts that race in your mind, you start breathing heavy, you start looking side to side to see if something happens. Is it your last time breathing? But then I just shook it off, right? Like I was just overthinking. I thought I was overthinking, but then the second time that happened, uh it happened twice, by the way. So it was four claps in total. So 2 minutes passed afterwards, and I heard it again, and I didn't know what to really think about my reaction. I was judging myself for feeling fear, but the fear was like unquestionably uncontrollable that made me think like I was gonna die. But yeah, it was really weird in the house. I moved away from the house, by the way. That's in New Haven, in Connecticut. But then
Okay.
afterwards, yeah, I just stood up slowly, came to my dining room, sat down, literally just waited for my mom to come home and prayed to God. But I don't believe in God no more. So that was,
Same.
yeah, yeah, that was a quick story that I want to share.
Alrighty. Well, we appreciate you, and I hope if you run into anything paranormal in the future, you have a better experience with it. Maybe you'll see Bigfoot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bigfoot is fantastic, guys. Just in case you guys don't know, Bigfoot is amazing. Probably one of my favorite things in the world, actually. Um, I feel like it's gonna be a Bigfoot night. What do you all think? You reckon we'll have like a whole bunch of Bigfoot stories tonight? I'm gonna call it. I think we're gonna have a Bigfoot night. But you know what? That is fine. I am not complaining because, like I said, I love Bigfoot. Let's throw some Bigfoots in the chat here. Guys, if you don't, oh, well, I pushed the wrong button. Why, TikTok, give me just a regular comment button. Holy cow. I have to push like 20 buttons to be able to comment, you guys. It's crazy. Bigfoot. There's some Bigfoots out there. Keep tapping, keep spamming the chat. Throw some emojis out. If you don't have the subscription emojis at your disposal, feel free to improvise. All emojis are, well, they're not all created equal because my Bigfoot emoji is pretty fantastic, but work with what you got. You guys better get up here and tell us a story before I start rambling about something. That's all I'm going to say. So, last week, guys, what a wild show we had. I think was it last Sunday or was it Monday? I think they were both really good shows, but we had one of the craziest guests. Not like bad, but like crazy. I used that word probably the wrong way. one of the wildest guests we've ever had come up and told us about his dog man encounter. And we have been talking about it in the Discord, and I've been laughing about it all week and just thinking about it. Very cool. If you guys missed that, it is posted on the other video platform. It is also available as a subscriber only video here on TikTok. So if you hit the subscribe button, you get access to the emojis, subscriber only videos. You get to come hang out with us in the Discord. And by the way, we had a bunch of people subscribe last week and you all never made it over to the Discord. So if anybody's having technical difficulties, feel free to send me a message and I'll help you figure it out. I don't want anybody to like be confused or whatever and not be able to get in, because we do have a really good time over there. Somebody keeps asking if I'm from Kentucky. Yes, I am from Eastern Kentucky originally. Was it Monday, Harry? Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. Bigfoot is uncle's cousin's nephew 3 times divided, I think. TJ. All right, guys, guest box is open. If you're new here, we do paranormal stories, extraterrestrial stories, cryptid stories, unexplained stories. We do it all. We'll even entertain a really good troll story. So, you know, if you want to come up and tell us something wild and crazy, we won't judge you just because it's not true. It just better be funny and entertaining. That's the only caveat. It has to be a good one. Other than that, if you have any of these topics to talk about, feel free to hit that little Pico Blue button somewhere down at the bottom of the screen, jump in the guest box and come up here and share your story with us. And is Cecil here? I think Cecil's here. Hello, Cecil, if you're here. Yeah, I pretty much started out making mostly just Eastern Kentucky videos, and then I kind of branched out from there, like to other parts of Kentucky, and then now I'm kind of just doing Appalachia as a whole. And by the way, guys, I do have a new video posted, so if you all would, because the clock app is it's squishing. You know what I mean? I don't want to say the word. It's squishing my video. It's squeezing it a little bit, so it's not really getting the engagement. So if you guys would go over to my profile and check out the video I posted. It's actually a really cool ghost story. Well, not really cool in the sense of like the events of the ghost story are cool. It's cool in the sense that it is a ghost story, but it's kind of a tragic story, actually. Very strange. I do wish that there was more info out there on it, but I compiled what I could find, and I think it makes a very interesting little spooky tale. So if you guys like ghost stories, definitely go check that one out. I'm from Sandy Hook, Kentucky, originally. I don't live there anymore, but that's where I grew up. I also lived in Ashland, Kentucky for a little while. I've lived all over Kentucky, but yeah, so from Sandy Hook originally. If anybody has oh, thank you, Kenneth, for subscribing. Don't forget, you guys, come over to the Discord. If you are a subscriber, you have instant access to the Discord, and we look forward to seeing you over there. We have a really good time. Druid is here. Hello, Druid. Middlesboro, Kentucky. Bria, cool. Very cool. How are you tonight, Druid? We were just talking, Druid, about the werewolf hunter from last week, and just what a phenomenal guest he was. He's literally an icon here. I feel like I should make him my background at this point. We don't know what he looks like, so, but you know, maybe in the future, maybe we could get a quick snapshot of him hunting Dogman in the American South and get him up here as the background. I think he should be the spokesperson for the channel. Holly, I know you loved him, Holly, I know, and I did too. Oh gosh, so funny. The worm eating challenge did not happen, interestingly enough. It just didn't, so you didn't miss it. It didn't happen. All right, guys, the guest box is open. Paranormal stories, extraterrestrial stories, cryptid stories, probably Bigfoot. Harry, thank you. We're probably going to have a Bigfoot night. I feel it coming. And that's perfectly fine. If you have a story about any of these topics and you want to come up and tell your spooky story, absolutely feel free to do that. Oh, cool. Druid's going to hop up. Awesome. Always love when Druid is on.
I wasn't sure if, it was okay
Hey.
to whatnot, but I just got back from the local paranormal group that I'm part of, and we were discussing different locale to check out, such as like Seattle Underground, Starvation Heights, stuff like that. I don't know if you've ever been to... No, you haven't been up here before, have you?
Where to? Specifically?
Yeah, Washington State.
I've always wanted to go to Washington State, and I've been very close to it, but I've never actually been to Washington.
Well, there's a place up here in Seattle called the Seattle Underground. And the reason it's called the Seattle Underground is because the new city was actually built on top of the old city. Because the old city burned down, but there's still areas that kind of maintained their, they were still intact. So when they built over it, everything that was still intact remained intact. So you can actually go underneath the old, the new city and actually see like all these old buildings and stuff that are essentially frozen in time. It's pretty cool. And of course, it's said to be haunted as well.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Actually, I'd love to see something like that. I feel like I've seen something similar to that here on TikTok. I don't know if it's the exact same place, but yeah, I'm really fascinated by like stuff that's kind of lost in history like that, especially like catacombs, like the catacombs of France. And
Oh, yeah.
supposedly the city that I live in has like an underground portion to it, but I can't verify that because it seems like there's conflicting information. But Louisville, Kentucky, they do have like some underground stuff going on. I don't know if people are able to get to it or not, but
There's a Olympic club in downtown Centralia, which has actually been featured on the news. And from what I've heard, I haven't actually seen the tunnels or anything myself, but supposedly they have tunnels where they would hide the alcohol and whatnot during the Prohibition era that went completely under the town itself. I've heard of them, but I've never seen them.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'd love to see stuff like that. We have caves. I mean, we have a lot of caves here, and I'm pretty sure that there's like some kind of hollow earth situation going on under Kentucky because like we have such a huge cave system from one side of the state to the other, like all the way over to the eastern side where I grew up. There's a tremendous amount of like cave system entrances and like holes and sinkholes. And just a few years ago in Western Kentucky, there was like a Corvette dealership fell into a sinkhole, like the whole thing, cars and building. I mean, I think they had like historical Corvettes and stuff too. So it was like a really big deal. So I kind of wonder when I hear about like underground systems in Kentucky, it's like, I don't know. Like, number one, if it's really there, would it be safe? Number two, how would they even have built it if the caves were like so out of control? I feel like, yeah, the Corvette Museum, that's what it was. Yeah.
My best friend actually has a theory in regards to the hollow earth, as well as like the ocean too. The idea that not all of the UFOs that we see come from outer space. They might actually come from within the earth itself, which, you can't really refute it because we don't know.
I think that is a very fascinating topic, and I made a video on that a long time ago because there's a UFO case called the Friendship case. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's super interesting. And it basically was forget where it was. I'm trying to look it up. I've got my script for it still. I'll give you all the details of it. But basically, it was like ultra-terrestrials that were subterranean dwelling extraterrestrials who had migrated here. That's like what the whole story was about. And they had pictures, which is something kind of interesting and unique to old UFO cases, because a lot of times they don't ever have like any type of evidence or anything they claim as evidence. But they did have pictures, and you can't honestly, like, if you really objectively are like, you know, does this really prove anything? No, technically it doesn't really prove anything. But it is kind of creepy to look at these pictures, and knowing the story, it kind of makes you see the pictures a little differently than, you know, if you just found some random old pictures on the internet. But like one of the people or the aliens or whatever, he was a very strange looking individual, very tall, very big structured, just, you know, of course, like I said, doesn't really prove anything, but it's interesting.
Kind of looking as though they might be able to live beneath the earth.
Maybe, yeah. Especially considering that, you know, they would probably have to be like really fit, or, you know, like really able to, I don't know, like do work down there. Like you kind of think like they're probably down there doing some type of industrious work, right? So I cannot find that script. Oh, maybe I found it. Hang on.
Another thing that's up this way too is, are you familiar with Isetti Ranch?
Maybe. Is there a... Well, tell me about it, because maybe and maybe not.
Gilliland Ranch supposedly has like a tremendous amount of UFO activity. It was featured on Paranormal State.
I don't think so.
But yeah, we have that up here too.
There's not too many cases and locations that I don't know about, or like at least familiar about, you know, just from making content for so many years and like reading books about it and stuff. But I do tend to forget the names, and I've noticed that, I don't know if it's like a TikTok thing or if it's just like times are changing, but there are a lot of things that I'll see and I'll be like, what is this? I've never heard of this before. Or I don't recognize the case name or like whatever they call it. And then like when I hear the story, I'm like, oh, that's such and such case. Like I heard about that, you know, in the 90s or something, but it's different. Like they have a different name for it now, or like the story's changed a little bit. So, so that does happen from time to time. Crap, I cannot find that script, but it was such an interesting story. I know I have it somewhere. I do still have a video on it, I think, on the other video platform place. And then also, when it comes to like ultra-terrestrials, probably the most well-known one, I guess, is that Pikeville Goblins case.
I would say that most of the things that we call the She, the Fae, elementals, etc., I would say that they're ultra-terrestrial.
Mm-hmm.
This, of course, coming from somebody that works with and follows that particular path.
Yeah, for sure. Well, somebody's talking about the Henry Clay Estate. Yeah, that's a cool place. Coal Miners Museum in Van Leer has lots of paranormal activity. Yeah, Van Leer is a spooky place.
Okay.
I think we're having a super slow night tonight, Druid. It kind of seemed like maybe we're going to have a Bigfoot night, but I don't know if we're going to have any kind of night.
Usually, like you said, it's much later when you start seeing the people trickling in to tell their stories.
I know. It always happens that way, unfortunately. I think it takes a little while. I've heard other creators talk about this. I think it takes a little while for everybody to get the notification, unfortunately.
Well, let's see if I can find if anybody's online I can share.
Anthony, as far as abandoned places in Madison County and Eastern Kentucky, I don't know about abandoned specifically. I would hesitate to give anybody, like I don't want to be responsible for anybody going to a place that they're not supposed to be going to. But I do have quite a few videos on like Richmond and Madison County as a whole. So that might give you some interesting places to check out. But definitely be sure that, if you do go to these places, that you're careful and you have permission to be there and, so forth.
Yeah, don't want to get caught with like trespassing fines or anything like that.
Right. And there are a lot of places, especially in Eastern Kentucky, that are dangerous. So I really don't like to send people anywhere. I've had so many people ask me since I started TikTok, like, oh, what about this type of place or that? I'm going to go check it out. It's like, don't do that. No, maybe not. But, yeah, I'm definitely not a proponent for people going to these places unless they have permission. The mushroom mines, Anthony, that one, everybody goes to the mushroom mines. So I feel like it's fairly safe. Somebody did tell me recently that they went, and it's somebody in my Discord. They actually got like some footage, some pictures and stuff. I think, now I haven't been there in like probably close to 10 years at this point, but from what I'm kind of gathering from the stories, it may be in kind of bad condition. So if you do go, just be mindful that it is a cave and it is old. Well, not a cave, it's a mine, but I've heard that it structurally is not doing great. So keep that in mind. The Casey Cemetery, I've not been there, but I'm going to go there eventually. I always say I'm like, going to go to these places and then I never get to go, but I'm going to do it eventually. And, I don't know, film some stuff so you guys can. Oh, there's TJ.
Aren't you kind of near where those like cheese caves are or whatever too?
I don't know about cheese caves, but definitely the mushroom mines. They're not too far away, a couple of hours. But I'll
'Cause
Google the cheese thing.
Yeah, there's like cheese caves that have like a whole bunch of cheese in them because the government had a whole bunch of it, and it's an interesting
Yeah,
story.
I've heard of that, but I'm not sure where they are. Hey, TJ.
Hey, how are you all?
Doing
Not
good. How
bad.
about you?
I'm doing good. I figured since you all were talking about caves and mines and stuff, I'll give you an old mine story from Van Lair that happened to me many years ago. Uh,
Awesome.
the area I used to live in Van Lair, there was mines back on the mountain back there that had been closed up for many, many years. And my uncle had bought a piece of property that I guess had some of those old mines on it. And we were back there doing some dozing work. I guess I was probably around 13, 14 years old, and we were back there watching them doing dozing work, and they had actually entered an area where they had uncovered part of a mine shaft, and I think somebody from the Environmental Protection Agency came up through there and kind of seen them working in that area and told them they couldn't be, digging along that hill, I guess, because it was a lot of old mines in that area. Well, us young boys, as young boys will do, we got in there and started kind of doing our own little bit of excavating ourselves with our hands, and took some of our parents' tools down there and started digging on the hill. And we opened up one of those mines. We opened it up big enough to where we get back in it, and we probably didn't realize how dangerous it was. But we crawled back in that mine, and we would go in it all the time. And I remember one evening, probably around about October, during the fall, we had climbed back in that thing. We would go back in there and have picnics and stuff all the time. Well, that evening we went in there and sat down, and was a couple of us sitting there just talking and eating, I guess, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I had no clue what we were eating, but we got real quiet and just started listening. And you could hear like voices back inside that, like people talking and like tools beating and banging. It was the craziest thing ever was. And we would just sit there and listen to it, and it would stop and start back. And it's almost like the echoes would come from outside, but they was coming way back inside the mine. Is the wildest thing ever was. We actually took an old tape player down there, had batteries in it, and tried to record it one time, but back in those days, those old tape, those old tape players wasn't much to pick up good sound, so it was crazy.
It's almost like the Tommy Knockers, or another name for them is like the Koblenai or something like that. The little like dwarf goblin or whatever they are that hang around in the mines.
Yeah, yeah, it was odd, man. I just it's kind of crazy to hear those tools beating and banging around there. It was like the remnants from the history was just coming to life while we were just sitting there listening.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking was like, is this like a residual haunting kind of thing? Possibly?
It possibly
Maybe.
is. It's a really old mine. I got to looking into it, and I think that mine had opened up sometime in the early to late 1800s, and it was a rickety old mine. There was a lot of old, like big, huge 6x6 posts holding up the ceiling of it and things like that. It was wild. I took some pictures of it. I wish I could find all my old pictures. I've got some really cool old pictures of stuff like that from way back in the day.
Yeah, if you ever run across those, you'll have to share them with us. I would love to see those.
We'll do that. Well, since I'd thought about that, I'd actually plumb forgot about that until I heard we was talking about the old Van Leer Museum there.
That's really cool. I love the idea of being able to kind of, I don't know, sneak into a place like that and do mischievous things. But realistically, I would never do that because I'm afraid of dirt and bugs and nature.
Yeah.
So, and caves. You know what? I'm not even claustrophobic, and I just don't think that I could really handle anything like that. But in theory, it sounds amazing.
Oh, it's fun doing that kind of stuff. I love abandoned stuff. I seen somebody asking about abandoned stuff. Now, I do love that kind of stuff. I'm always, investigating like abandoned houses and abandoned property. But you really got to watch about these areas because just because you think they're abandoned, they might not be. There could be people living in them, or there could be owners that don't want nobody around them.
So like the ghost towns.
Yeah.
We have a few of those up here.
They filled in a
Yeah.
lake here close to me, and I do a lot of hunting in the area where the lake is that I live around. And before they filled that lake in, they like a bunch of old abandoned homes were around the lake, and they used to be standing up probably until about the mid to late '90s, and I guess they've all pretty much bit the dust now. But I love going to those old houses and seeing stuff from newspaper clippings from 1920s and 1910s. Seeing all kinds of old time pictures and shoes and you name it.
Yeah, they're like time capsules. I love those channels where they do like abandoned exploration. Do you ever watch those?
I do.
Yeah, I would love to do that. But you know what? Every time I see one and they've gone into like a big mansion or something, because a lot of times they're like, "Oh, we found a billionaire's abandoned mansion in the woods." I'm like, I would squat there.
Right?
Kick me out. But yeah, so I'd be tempted to just move in and stay there. Water, power, forget it. I don't care. I have a mansion. Why would I care?
I've seen on the internet there is somewhere where there's like several mansions that's abandoned. I can't. It's like a whole big subdivision of mansions. I can't remember where I seen that at, but and what state it's in. But I do remember seeing it.
They have a bunch of. I know it's in like Eastern Europe, but they had this big, huge kickoff where they were building like these little miniature versions of fairy tale castles, and nobody lived in them, so they're just kind of left to nature. I would love to just get one of those and bring it over.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, I know. That would be awesome.
Alrighty, guys and girls, I'll get off here in case somebody wants to get in and tell some stories.
Alrighty, TJ. Well, we appreciate you. And if you think of any other stories you want to tell us, feel free to come back.
10-4.
Alrighty.
See you.
I think it's in like Turkey or something like that.
There was that show that's real popular based off the video game. What is it? The Last of Us or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
I think the neighborhood, I'm so out of the loop when it comes to new actors and like names. The guys that lived in the neighborhood, that neighborhood, I don't know if it's exactly, I think it is specifically that neighborhood in the show was built in Canada and then abandoned because there was a flood or like some type of weather disaster, weather related disaster.
That sounds
And
familiar.
yeah, I think I heard that here on TikTok. So I don't know
Hmm.
if it's 100% true or like, but because you never know with TikTok.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't care to Google it. I was like, oh, interesting. And then I moved on with my life. But yeah, stuff like that is really exciting and it's funny too, because Tully was talking about this. He's got a book that's got ghost towns and like abandoned, I don't know, villages and stuff like that in it.
Hmm.
And I've got to get one of those books. He sent me like some pictures of the pages and stuff. And I'm like, I want to go here and look at these. But it's weird to think there are places out there where everybody just walked away and just left it as is. And that, maybe you can go check it out or whatever. Um,
Nearest one to me is called Claquedo, and it's an old ghost town that also has a cemetery nearby, which my grandparents are actually buried in. But all that's left of the original ghost town is just the church. Everything else is just gone. So you pretty much have a still standing church from the 1800s.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Where I grew up, there was an old schoolhouse that my mom actually went to when she was a kid, and I think it closed while she was going to it, so it was old then. Um, but it was a one room. I don't know if it was a log or what. It was really old, like really, really old. But it was just a big one room building, and we snuck in it one time when I was a kid. Me and my mom, because it wasn't far from where we lived, so we just kind of we would go for walks and stuff, and she used to tell me about it. And then one day we're like, let's just mosey on in and see what happens. So I did get to see it that one time. It was really cool, and that's probably where my love of stuff like that came from, is sneaking around a little bit with her and just looking at
Mm.
old places. And
That's fun
uh,
stuff. I mean, you know.
yeah, for sure. I see we got some weird comments going on down there.
Mhm. I'm trying to follow along with that.
Yeah. Um, all right,
And
guys. Guest
yes,
box is open. Go ahead, Drew.
hmm, sorry, eating fruit too.
All right. Let's see. Looks like our numbers are doing pretty good for a slow, possibly slow night, guys. So surely one of you all has a spooky story. So if you have a spooky story, jump up here in the box, come up, tell us about it. We do paranormal stories, extraterrestrial stories, cryptid stories, unexplained stories. We'll even entertain a troll story here and there, especially if it's one like the guy from last week who was
Oh,
hunting Dogman.
is that the one that was like kept on talking over everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was a few bottles in.
Oh, for sure. For
Hmm.
sure. And I think it was liquid charisma for him, to be quite honest, because that's it's become one of the most iconic guest appearances on this show ever. So
Hmm.
we're still talking about it in the Discord and stuff. And if you guys want to see that, there's two ways you can see it. You can hit the little subscribe button, and it's one of the subscriber only videos on my channel. It's also posted on the other video platform, the you know where place that I won't say because reasons. But yeah, so if you haven't seen it and if you missed that, definitely check it out. It was a good one. Let's see. In the meantime, if you guys want to spam the chat with some emojis, I wish I just had just one straight up comment box, but I have to tap all of these extra buttons to be able to comment on my own stream. It's very sad. TikTok's treating me very poorly. Oh, and guys, it's June, isn't it? I can't keep up with time.
It
Time is
is. Happy
flying by
Pride
for
Month
me. Yeah,
to those
Pride
that
Month.
celebrate, like me.
Yeah, for sure. Got some rainbow aliens to throw out there. I need to make my frog emoji. If I can remember to. I'll make my frog and throw him out there tomorrow night. Should make a note of that.
I'm surprised Ali hasn't popped up yet since he's been hanging out in the chat.
Yeah, I saw him pop in. Maybe he's getting settled in for the night. He'll probably be up in a little bit. An ex-Marine and a werewolf. Don't forget, Holly, he's got a big old werewolf tattoo on his back, but he can't tell us about it because it's a secret.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I do believe that there is some sort of basis of truth to the idea of werewolves, but not in the same way that, all these others keep on claiming it to be. More or less, I see it as a form of shamanism, because back in the day, you had these individuals who would have certain affiliations with animals. They would basically view them as sacred. You see it in Native American cultures, you see it in European cultures and whatnot. So for them to do some type of ritual to imbue themselves with the aspect of said animal, it's not beyond the scope of reason that might have some type of roots with what we perceive as lycanthropy. The idea to basically, through some type of magical ritual, the wearing of hides, the basically to, in a spiritual sense of the way, shapeshift into the totem animal. A good example being, the berserkers in Norway, how they would basically wear the skin of bears and go into battle frenzy, taking on the aspects of a bear. Same concept. And even within the Druidic cultures, supposedly, according to, what was written down by figures such as like Tacitus and whatnot, Druids were able to shapeshift. So it's, in that respect, I suppose it is a genuine thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't know. I've always been on the fence about like certain types of cryptids, but like I love the stories about them. I love to hear about them. And for me personally, just having seen some weird stuff and not having answers, oh, thank you, Holly. And not knowing like what it was I saw, I guess that's kind of like what draws me in and fascinates me on that subject. Just because I have so many questions. But I mean, to me, like Bigfoot, for example, you guys know I always say I think Bigfoot is an undiscovered primate. I think it makes perfect sense. I know there are like tons of more, creative and intriguing origin stories out there for Bigfoot, but personally, I think it's just, like a big ape of some kind. And that to me is the biggest draw about Bigfoot. That's why I love Bigfoot so much, is because I think he has the best chance of being 100% real. And I had a Bigfoot experience, and I mean, while I don't know for sure that it was an enormous primate, it was something that wasn't human. I mean, I guess it could have been a ghost, but we got Black Bear in the box.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
As for like with me being Native American from the Creek Nation and living up in the Northwest for like 28 years, moved up there when I was like 16 with my parents, and I got on a fire crew up there on the Yakima Res. We were contracted out with the BIA but it was the Yakima tribe that ran the fire crew, and we were forest firefighters for the summer. I was, and we'd have a crew of like 22 Indians, and there was like, I think at one time there was like 8 crews of us. When I first got on there was like 4. But I did it 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So like 5 years, 5 summers. And we would go up, and a lot of times when we would leave, we would we'd be gone for a long, pretty much almost all summer. We'd be going from one fire to the next a lot of times, and sleeping in the woods. After a while, you've been there for a while, saved up some money, you'd get you a tent. But when I first started, we'd just throw a blanket on the ground, and they'd give us a green tarp, like the blue tarps you buy in Lowe's and Home Depot. They'd just give us a thick green tarp, and we'd make a lean-to, tie it to some trees, and we'd sleep underneath that. Starting out. And so we would be out in the woods, out in the open, like I said, not even in a tent, just sleeping underneath the lean-to. Me and 3 other guys, sometimes 4 other guys. And I'll say this too. In case you don't know, the government already knows about Bigfoot. No conspiracy theory or nothing. Matter of fact, this story is what I'm about to tell you is a true story that happened to me on a fire dealing with Bigfoot. And so when people say, well, uncome we don't have nothing. And I'm like, looking at them and I'm thinking, they already know. They've been knowing. This isn't no new thing. They've been knowing. Kind of like they know giants walk the earth. Well, why don't we have skeletons? They have them. They have them. And my family's got stories of back in the days, this is going with giants, of when my tribe, matter of fact, my tribe is Alabama tribe, which is part of the Creek Nation. There's a couple of tribes that make up the Creek Nation. It ain't just one tribe, it's a confederation of tribes, really. But my original tribe is Alabama, which that's what the state is named after, my tribe, Alabama. And in Alabama, there are mounds there. Well, we had stories of there were giants buried in those mounds, giants buried. There are people in those mounds, so we never messed with them. But again, it goes back to, well, if there were giants, we don't have them in the museums. They have them. The government has them. And why they don't want to come out with it, I don't know. I have no reason for that. But just like Bigfoot, I have no reason why they don't want to come out and say, yeah, there's people on this earth, in this country, in these states, living in the woods that are like us, but ain't us. Bigfoot. And anyways, so back to the story. So I'm 16 years old, first summer, going out on the fires. I'm loving it, being up in the woods and all this, sleeping underneath the stars. Yeah, I'm loving it. And we're in Oregon, in Klamath Falls, Oregon. And even to this day, these woods were the thickest woods I have ever been in. And I've been in like almost all the woods up there in Oregon, Washington, Idaho. But these woods were thick. When I say thick, I mean they were thick and tall and really big. Biggest trees I ever seen. Matter of fact, they had redwoods in there. That's how big these were. Like, it reminded me of the Star Wars show Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks in the Ewok forest. It was like that. And that's exactly what I thought when we got there. I was like,
Oh yeah, I've been in that area. I mean, you're a fellow Pacific Northwesterner like myself, so like all these different places that you're referencing, I'm familiar with. But yeah,
yeah, I was like, this is like the Ewok Forest. But anyways, when we got there, the Forest Service guy, the ranger, he tells us, he says, okay, if you get lost, if you get separated, don't move. Just stay where you're at. We're going to have a helicopter with a thermal come over and we'll find you. And one of the guys on our crew is like, well, what happens if we move? He goes, then we'll probably never find you. He goes, people disappear in these woods a lot and we never find them. And I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, so stay together, stay on the trail, don't get lost. If you do, stay put. I'm like, okay. And so anyways, we spend the night there. Next morning we get up, get our gear, we're geared up. They bust us out to the fire area and we take off down this dirt trail. And oh yeah, this guy tells us too, that morning in our briefing and whatnot, he says, the area you're going into is an area that most people don't go into. He said, there's very few trails. He said, the few that we have made, he's like, stay on them. Again, if you get lost, stay put. Don't try to go to find a stream or try to climb a hill and be on, just stay put. He said, because this canopy is thick. He's like, last fire was like 100 years ago. He's like, so there's a lot of undergrowth, which there was. It was really thick. And the trees were really tall. So when we go in there, and mind you, it's summertime. It's like July. And no rain. Everything's dried out. But when we get in there, the trees were so tall. We were just in shadow. It was like being in the shadow of a garage. The whole time we're walking. And I'm thinking, yeah, this guy's right. If you get lost in here, you're probably never going to be found, man, unless somebody stumbles across you somehow. Which he had just made clear that nobody really goes back here but rangers. And I'm like, okay. So anyways, we get to the fire. We're on the side of this hill. And we're digging a line around there. We get the line dug. It's the end of the day. And all day long, it was kind of funny. It was kind of like I don't know, I guess you might say, kind of like an eerie feeling and a creepy feeling. And I wasn't the only one. I mean, months later, after I talked to guys on the crew that were with me there that day, they all said the same thing. They were like, yeah, that was kind of an eerie place, man. He's like, there's like some medicine going on there. I was like, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But we dig a line. We're coyoting out, which is we're sleeping out on the line. We're staying out there, making sure the fire doesn't, because it went out. And so we're making sure the fire doesn't start back up. So we're coyoting out. We're separating up into two people, to a group, and we're spread out around this fire. And me and this one guy was at the top of the fire line on the side of the hill. And I don't know, probably, think about it, maybe 100 yards up from where we were was the top of the hill where we were. Anyways, I wasn't supposed to do this, but I did it anyways. I give me a little ember and I make a little, as we say, a little Indian fire. And I had a old World War II canteen, one of those steel canteens, and it came with a little cup underneath. Well, I'd pour my water in there and heat up my water to make coffee. And so I made me a little Indian fire. and I'm heating up my cup, heating up my water to make some coffee to stay up, because we're going to do 4-hour shifts. One guy stay up, the other guy sleep, and then switch out. And I'm like, okay. So I'm making some coffee. This dude beside me, we're talking a little bit before he goes to sleep. And I say, and it's dark because now it's nighttime. And I tell this guy, I said, this is like Bigfoot country. I think I told you this before, I don't even remember. But natives don't like to say the name of things because they believe it summons them. So this guy goes, shut up about that. He goes, don't be saying that around here. And I'm like, and I'm looking around because, yeah, there's nobody living out here. I mean, we're on this hill, right, overlooking these valleys, and we don't see no lights, nothing. And I'm like, there's nobody around here for miles. I'm like, if I was Bigfoot, this is where I would live. I mean, you could walk around all day and never see nobody. You got 4 or 5-story high trees. Ain't no plane or helicopter gonna see you unless you want it to see you. And I'm telling him this, and I'm like, yeah, this is like Bigfoot country. He's like, man, I told you to be quiet about that. He's like, don't be saying that name around here. So, mind you, like I said, I'm like 16 years old, so I'm not scared of nothing. I'm feeling myself, right? I'm in tip-top shape, all this. I used to box and do judo, so yeah, I'm not, like I said, at 16, you're not fearing nothing. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I heat up some coffee for me and him. We're drinking it. And at the top of this hill, we hear, I describe it kind of like I've heard cougars and women, like a woman screaming in a cougar. It was like, rah. And me and him look at each other, and no more than like we had this conversation. I was talking to him about that, about the BF. This is like probably like 20, 30 minutes later. Maybe that guy was right. But anyways, yeah, he goes, rah, again. And everybody has headlamps. They had them off to save the batteries. And now everybody's headlamps click on. Click, 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 click. So you can see all these little lights around the fire where everybody's at. And here comes our crew boss. He comes up, and this guy was an ex-ranger. He'd been in the military for like 24 years. Anyways, and he really knew his stuff about the woods too. I'll give him that too. But he comes up and he says, hey, was that you guys? And I said, no. And he goes, don't be playing around. He said, was that you guys? And I said, no. I said, it pointed up the hill. I said, it came from up that way. And he looks up the hill, and then it happens again. But this time it's closer. Rah! And we all three of us are looking at each other. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, whatever that was, I said, that's closer. I said, than it was the first time. And I look at that one dude that was beside me, my partner, and he did a lot of hunting up there on Mount Adams and Mount Rainier. And he matter of fact, he lived at the bottom of Mount Adams. And I asked him, I said, is that a mountain lion? And he goes, no. And I said, that ain't no coyote, is it? He goes, no. And I said, have you ever heard that before? And he just looks at me. And he goes, I told you not to be saying that name. And I'm like, I'm just like, you're kidding me, right? Anyways, so we're standing here, and he jumps on the radio, our crew boss, and he tells everybody, he says, okay, everybody get your shovels and Pulaskis out. A Pulaski is like a digging device. It got a hole on one end, and on the other end, it's got an axe head. And that's what I carried. And so he goes, everybody get your tools out. He said, and put your back to the black, in other words, to where the fire was, because it's clear there. There's no, but everything got burnt up. He says, put your backs to the black. He said, and everybody sit facing the bushes, facing the woods. And so we do that. And he goes, I'm going to stay with you guys for a while. And I said, okay. I said, thanks. And I said his name. And now I'm kind of getting scared. I'm not too scared because I'm still thinking it's like an animal. Because at this time, I didn't believe in Bigfoot. I always thought it was just stories. And after this, yeah. So we're sitting there, and then, I don't know, probably 15, maybe 20 minutes later, we start smelling something really bad. Kind of like rotten meat in a skunk. If you've ever smelled a skunk and you smell rotten meat, put that together, and that's kind of what it smelled like. That's the only way I can describe it. It smelled like rotten meat in a skunk. It smelled bad.
I do recall, I believe in Florida, around that area, another name for what they consider Bigfoot is the skunk ape. For that very reason, is because of the fragrance or the odor.
Yeah, I don't know about no fragrance, but yeah, that thing stunk. But so we start smelling this, right? And then snap, snap, snap. And we're hearing this, and it's coming closer. And I'm like, I wonder what the freak that is. And I'm like, bears. And that's my next thought was, it's got to be a bear. It's got to be a bear moving through the woods. I said, because I've been on like 3 or 4 fires by this time and ran into different animals, elks, deer, mule deer. And they don't really make no noise when they're moving through the woods. But this thing was making noise, so I knew it was big. And I'm like, the only thing I can think of is maybe it's a bear. But anyways, it comes up, and our crew boss goes, there it is. And we shine our headlamps. We shine our headlamps in that direction. And on the edge of the black, where there was an opening between us and this other group of people, is where it kind of came out at. And at first I said, it's a bear, because it was on all fours. And no more than I said that, it's a bear, this thing stood up on 2 legs. And I'm like, that ain't no bear. Because I could see its body now. Because the other people that were beside us, they were probably about like 20 yards. Yeah, we were spaced out about 15, 20 yards apiece apart from each other. They started a little Indian fire in the black. And so that's what I'm saying. We could see it. So I still had mine going. They had one going. Matter of fact, almost everybody started a little Indian fire then, because everybody kind of got scared. But everybody was thinking it was a bear. Anyways, and they could see it now. So here's 22 people witnessing the same thing I'm witnessing. This thing came out on all fours, stepped out into the black, and then stood up on all two legs. And we're all looking at it with our headlamps. And I could see it had like a reddish brown fur. And again, I'm still thinking it's got to be a bear. And it looked right at us. And when it turned its whole body. It didn't turn its head. That's one thing I thought about too. Years later, I was like, this thing, and then of course pictures I looked at, you don't never see no neck on this thing. But it didn't turn its head, it turned its whole body from the waist to look at us. And that's when it turned around, like right on its heels, and just walked right back up the hill into the bushes, and was breaking branches as it was going. Snap, 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 and just kind of took off at a little jog. And I was like, yeah, that wasn't no bear. Ain't no bear. And I've seen bears now in the woods. Like I said, all those years firefighting, I've seen bears a few times. And I've even seen a grizzly bear up in the Cascades. And yeah, they don't take off running like us. And that thing did. And that's how I know it wasn't no bear. And of course, they call in and say, hey, we got a situation. We need to, our crew boss and the other bosses, we need to move our crew out of this fire zone. We need to come back to base. Well, they said, we can't get you tonight. We'll come and get you in the morning, first thing in the morning. And I said, okay. So we stayed the night out there. Nothing more happened than that. But of course, that's all we talked about that night was that. And when we got pulled in the base, this is why I say what I say about the government. So they pull us in. They tell us all line up and sit down here. So we're all lined up, put our gear down, our backpacks and stuff, and sit down. And they brought us into this army tent, one by one. They're calling us out by name, bringing us in. And when my name gets called, I go in there, and they had the head person of the Forest Service there, the number 1, number 2 Ranger. They had the chief of the Klamath Falls Indians there, number 1, number 2. They had a U.S. Marshal there that was the head of that area. And they had 3 guys from the Oregon National Guards that were there. And they had 2 guys in suits. Everybody said their name and what organization they're with, except for those 2 guys in the suits. Those 2 white guys. And they said, we're with the U.S. government. And that's all they said. I didn't really think about that at the time. Like I said, I'm 16 years old. I didn't think nothing more of it. But they asked us, interrogated us really. They just asked us what we seen, took our statement. And they said, all right, don't tell anybody about this. I said, okay. I said, all right, you can go. So I went back out, grabbed my stuff, and went on into camp, took a shower, got some food, went to sleep. Oh, before I went to sleep. So I took a shower, got some food while we're at the tent eating, and we're all kind of talking about this. And everybody else, the rest of the crews are back out on the fire. It's just us back there at the camp. two Huey helicopters went flying over us. And I'm looking up, and they were full of soldiers with assault rifles, like the M16 style assault rifles. And I said, "Where do you think they're going?" He goes, "They're going out there to go kill Bigfoot." And I was like, "You think so?" And he goes, "Yeah." Anyways, that's my story on that.
Well, that's a pretty good Squatch story, for sure. I think it's interesting what you said about how it didn't just turn its head, it turned its body. Because although I will say, like, I'll put a disclaimer on this, my memory is a little bit murky about the whole thing, but I think I have it written down somewhere. I'm pretty sure that the one I saw, when it turned to look, it kind of turned its torso as well, instead of just, like it didn't do like a person, just head and neck. So, and I saw somebody in the comments was talking about it being down on all fours, and that's not something you hear very often, interestingly enough, about Bigfoot.
No.
But I mean, it makes perfect sense because it's a very, I don't know, primate thing to do, I guess.
Especially if you're not trying to be discovered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've heard stories of them running on all fours. There was a book, because for years after that, I was all into Bigfoot then. For years after that, finding every book I could about stories of them. And that's kind of oddly enough that I found out that, I don't know how this coincides, even if it does. It could just be a coincidence. I don't know. But I noticed, I don't know if you noticed, of looking up Bigfoot stories and sightings, that they're all in places, well, I ain't gonna say all, but a lot of them are in places where there's UFO sightings. Have you ever noticed that?
Going
Yeah,
back to
I've heard
like
people.
what I said about a SETI ranch.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I've
spoke.
heard people bring that up. I've also heard a lot of people say that with Bigfoot reports, a lot of times people see like UFO activity or like bright flashes of light, stuff like that. I've heard tons of stories like that. I personally, I don't know how I feel about that part of some of the stories, but it's interesting. It's definitely a correlation somehow.
It's just like and of course, I was discovered 411 some years ago, and I was like, this is interesting. I said, where a lot of people have disappeared, also have these two areas connected. I'm like, where there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings, a lot of UFO sightings. I said, I wonder if that has anything to do with anything. I don't know.
Well,
It just seems kind of odd. But I'll tell you one. I don't know if you ever heard this one about the girl. I can't remember where she was in the Appalachians, but this was like about 13, 14 years ago. And it wasn't a big story, really. It was probably like on the news, for like the national news, for like maybe a day or two, because she was only gone for like 2 days. But this little girl got lost in a national forest off the Appalachian Trail, where they have a lot of BF sightings. And they had this big uh, group of searchers go looking for her, right? And they went over this area twice, mind you, going in, coming out, and then the next day they were like, we're going to search this area again. And they went in and they found her. And she was sitting on a stump, like miles away from the trail. And when they found her, they said she had a real odd smell. I would imagine a stink smell about her. And she was kind of wet, like muddy wet. And they asked her, said, "Where was you?" And she said, now this wasn't in the news. This was from a native guy that told me this, that was on the search party. That was one of the guys that found her. And they said, "Where was you?" And she said, "I was with the bear woman." And he said, "What?" And she said, "The bear woman left me here." And he said, "The bear woman?" And he goes, "Yeah." She said, "It was a bear, a woman bear that found me, picked me up, and took me to where she lived, and she fed me these berries, and she had some black and blueberries in her hand. And then she said she brought me back here and said, 'Sit here, they're coming for you.' And she walked off back into the woods. And he said, 'This bear, how did she walk?' And she said, 'She walked like us.' He goes, 'On two legs?' And she nodded her head yes. And I was like, And when he looked around, there were Bigfoot tracks around her. That's a crazy story, huh? But that was never in the national news, only that they found that girl.
Yeah, that is. And I saw somebody in the comments is referencing one of the stories that we had a while back. And actually, that lady is here tonight. I don't know if she'll come up and talk to us, but maybe you were here, Black Bear. She was telling about how a Bigfoot had tried to nurse somebody like they were her young in the woods. And so, like, we've all been terrified of Bigfoot milk since that story. But somebody's talking about it in the comments.
Like I
So,
said,
yeah,
it sounds like some type of workout supplement.
Right. I don't know. As big and as fast as they are, you might win the Olympics if you take that.
exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that's the kind of testimony that just, I don't know. It's like, how do you refute that? I mean, because like, I don't know. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know. I'm just an observer of the paranormal. What do I know?
Is probably just a very intoxicated bear, as in the type of person that was just very hairy, and they mistook it for, yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to take off.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, and those are some fantastic stories. Thank you for sharing them with us.
Okay.
Have a good night. Good with Wheaties. Oh my God, TJ. Yeah, that makes me think of that scene in what was The Animal with Rob Schneider, where he had badger milk, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was real thick, and he's like, that's good badger milk. Oh, so gross. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. The guest box is open if anybody wants to come up. I told you it's a Bigfoot night, guys. I knew it. I could feel it in my bones. We're going to get a bunch of Bigfoot stories.
Always good to have the weird ones, you know.
Yeah, hopefully we get some like the werewolf hunter guy. I'm still hoping. I've got my hopes up. Hey, Ollie.
Hi, how is everybody?
We're just hanging out talking about Bigfoot milk.
Yep. And my spicy gummy is slowly starting to kick in, so I'm doing good.
Oh, well, I'm a little jealous
I
because
share.
like I have a can of wine that I got from this Kroger's that I wanted to try. And then this was last week, and today was the day I was gonna try it, and I was like, okay, let me get some stuff done. And well, I made it a goal because I'm off. Like, well, it's either a half day tomorrow in the afternoon or I'm off, unless they call me in. So I'm just thinking that that's gonna be my go to sleep treat. Um, so yes. Hi, Heather. I hope everyone's up. What did I miss? Did I miss anything interesting? Like well, when I say interesting, crazy is what I mean.
Yeah. You mean
Everything's
like
interesting.
iconic, like the Hillbilly Van Helsing last week. So we haven't had one of those yet, but the night is still young, and we are hoping. I'm pushing that troll story topic, so hopefully we get one. But we're having a Bigfoot night for sure. We've had two or three Bigfoot stories so far, pretty good ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had some people in our community, like in the Houston area, people have been like really concerned lately because of the storms. And so everybody's kind of like paranoid. They're going to their local witch shops and stuff like that, getting card readings or whatnot. And that's gonna be something. You have a nightmare treat for me. Oh, Holly, what happened? But yeah, yeah, that's been some word has been going around, so I would like to. I haven't gotten a chance yet. Tomorrow, I'm going to be going down to the apothecary that I used to go to a lot, and I'm going to get some answers. Let me get some cheese may, as we say in Spanish. Get some rumors. But yeah. Oh, so I wonder any Bigfoots coming up. And are these
I think
stories old or recent? I would be wondering because
Black Bear's Bigfoot story, I think, took place quite some time ago. The first one was fairly recent because the lady was telling about her dad. I think it was recent. I don't know if she really said specifically. Um, there was somebody said that I live right at the base of Mount Rainier, and there's some crazy stories. Come up and tell us. Guys, the guest box is open. Don't be shy. Don't feel nervous. Just hit that little pink and blue button somewhere down on the bottom of the screen. Hop in the box. Come up here. Tell us your story. Um, but yeah, no, I think the first one was pretty recent. It was interesting too because her dad had had some type of like really intense Bigfoot encounter and like became an avid Bigfoot hunter, I suppose, and it was really cool. It was interesting. Um,
yeah, like I mean,
but yeah, other than that, it's been kind of a slow night a little bit.
yeah, I want to like
Let's see.
I wonder like with all the technology that we have out here, I wonder if we're gonna get like a sample or something really solid one of these days. I feel it coming.
I think this year is going to be a very unusual year, just in general.
I feel ya. I feel that.
Yeah, the other day I had a reason to crack open my bottle of wine and celebrate, but I completely forgot to do so.
Did it have anything to do with the number 34?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Oh
I
gosh.
celebrated, just not with the wine.
Yeah. Well, hey, a celebration is a celebration, wine or not.
Yeah.
The trail story happened 10 years ago. Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh wait, I forgot to tap. Let me. I was like, I was tapping away, and then I tapped my way into the line. Let me see. Any ghost stories recently?
We haven't had any ghost stories tonight, but you know what it is? It's where we've been talking so much about Bigfoot. I think we're getting sorted into the Bigfoot algorithm, so we probably won't get very many ghost stories tonight, and I'm not mad at it, honestly, because I love Bigfoot, and so anytime somebody's got a Bigfoot story, I'm here for it. Um, but guys, if anybody, I mean, we got like 138 people here. Somebody's got a spooky story. Paranormal, extraterrestrial, cryptid, unexplained, will tolerate a troll story as long as it's funny. It has to be good. It's got to be like, I mean, the bar is set really high after the werewolf guy, so it's got to be a good one. But yeah, if you have any type of spooky story, we want to hear your spookiest spooky story. So hop in the box, come up and tell us. You know you want to. So there is this TikTok channel. I'm not going to say his name because Lord have mercy. Some of you probably know who I'm talking about, though, just by the description. He does a similar stream to mine. A lot of people do nowadays. I don't know if you guys know that, but there's like a whole bunch of copycats out there, so that's kind of cool. But anyway, his is UFO focused, and he does like star people or something like that. And the other night I was listening to it and it was so wild. There was somebody on his stream talking about UFO stuff and like just, you know, all this wild, intense stuff. And they were from right across the river from where I grew up. And I was like, holy cow.
You will always be the OG.
I am the original ghost story stream, but I wanted so bad to go on this guy's stream, and I was like, you know what? If I do, it's going to notify everybody. And I don't know if I want everybody like, you know, to come, but so if you guys see me go live with any weird UFO channels, just disregard the notification. Just let me have my moment. But he had one guest on who, listen, this was wild because I don't know if this guy does like maybe this was his buddy he had call in or whatever, but it was so tempting. I just wanted to go up next after I heard this. So he tells this guy, he's like, I'm going to send 2 of these space people to come, and they're going to, like, if you close your eyes and you meditate, you're going to feel them like touch your shoulder and all this stuff. It was so crazy. Has anybody seen this type of stuff going on TikTok, by the way? Wild. And then listen to this, guys. There is another TikTok stream that comes on really late at night, and I usually see him if I am getting off of one of my streams, because mine end late and his start late. I can't remember his name, but he does this stream where people come up and he puts demons in them. Has anybody seen that one?
No.
No. Hi, Cryptic Bones. Oh my god. I'm sorry. What?
Yeah,
There's some weird people out there.
Yeah, I love it. It's so weird. I love it. But they go in the guest box and they say his name. Like I honestly cannot remember his name. But they have to say it 3 times, and then he does like this. It's kind of like Beetlejuice, yeah. And then he does like all these hand motions, and he puts a demon in them. And yeah, so I was just curious if anybody else is anybody else seeing this stuff, or is it just me? It's just my FYP, maybe.
I mean, I'm not seeing weirdness on TikTok, but I happen to know somebody that claims they hand-fasted to an unalived ex-boyfriend of theirs.
I'm sorry, they what?
Yeah, they apparently claim they married a ghost.
Well, now that actually happens a lot. There's been a lot of people, especially from the UK. I've seen on the internet people marrying ghosts.
That's
Why
so
would you not marry?
unethical, though.
I was like, why not just not marry? It's okay. I mean, like, just chill out. We need, like...
I mean, do they have... Is it because they're so desperate for love that they're just going to take somebody that's passed on? I mean, what's...
Oh, you know what this reminds me of? Lisa Frankenstein. Y'all saw that movie?
No, but I've seen it on, and I remember you mentioning that movie, and every time I flip past it, I'm like, I'm going to watch that, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I was like, this just kind of reminds me of that. I think they're like, is it a trend? I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into the statistics and data. I've just been busy like crazy the last couple weeks, but apparently there is certain statistics out there that people are more infatuated with that these days. Like, you know, the whole Twilight thing, people were just infatuated with, like the whole, you know, beastly kind of thing. It was just, it was weird. You know, human studies is interesting. But a fun fact, I don't know if a lot of people, because I found this out a couple days ago. One of my old professors, she contacted me and she said, "Did you know that you can be like a certified spiritual healing coach?" And she's like, "No." I was like, "No. Wait, they have that? Like, what do you mean?" And I was like looking deeper into it, and it's like, you can be a certified like witch doctor in a way. I'm just like, there's a certification for that, and I'm like looking it up, and I was like, oh, there's this college in my city that actually, couple of colleges, they offer spiritual healer coach certifications, and they give you actually credit hours for certain things. I was like, oh my god, holistic healing is kind of popping up, but this kind, I mean, being married to a ghost, this is like beyond that. But I get how
So
people.
here's my issue with this particular thing. Like I haven't said anything to said person yet, but so there's three issues that I have with it. No, wait, two or three. Okay, two that I can think of off the top of my head. First of all, the fact that it is legally non-consensual, because a ghost cannot legally consent to uh, being, married to anyone. Number two, for the spiritual aspect of it, you're essentially binding a spirit to Earth so that they cannot cross over, into whatever place they're supposed to go after this life. So there's just a lot of that. I don't know. I think that's seems a bit off to me.
I would like to interview those people.
Yeah.
And speaking of bad storms and stuff like that, I don't know. Did I ever tell you guys about my Galveston ghost story? I probably like, I don't know if I said that, but my mom and I both kind of like had the experience. Me more. So, um, is there anybody in the guest box?
We had somebody, but I think it might have been an accidental request, so they're gone. But guys, just if anybody does want to come on, you know, just throwing it out there.
Please come
um,
on up.
you have told us some Galveston stories, Ollie, but I don't know which one is this one. I remember the one about the man coming to the door. I don't know if that one was in Galveston, but
Oh no, that one was the oh yeah, the I got knocked on the door by the devil, possibly. That story. No, the Galveston one, because it kind of just reminds me this past weekend, the Memorial Day weekend, apparently there were some tragedies that recently happened. Because there were some like unalivements because there were a lot of rip currents. All up and down Galveston. So Lord rest their souls, but there was a similar incident that happened a few years ago with there's two twin boys, and it was kind of a big story. Um, and I kind of didn't know anything about it. I mean, it was a big story, but people don't really pay it. They see and forget. So Galveston, this was the two ghost boys on the beach, and it was around probably 6 p.m. I would say it was still quite sunny outside. Um, me and my mom, my dad was like, walking up, like he was trying to do a bike ride. Um, on the seawall, me and my mom, we decided to just walk on the beach. There wasn't too many people there that day. Very few. There was just some surfers, people like the mind your own business people. So that's what was going on. It was the middle of the week. So I was just walking around the beach, picking up seashells, just having um, mommy and me time at like after such a long time. And then just I saw this random boy sitting in the water. He looked quite dry. Um, wearing like like a red little tank, just looking out there. And we walk by again, and we just think nothing of it. And then we just keep going, and we see that boy again. Same position, same everything. And it was just it's actually a really sad story. But I tried to interact with one of them because my mom saw the same thing. It's like, that kid is gonna, like, whose kid is that? And so I try to go over there, and like not too close. I was like, "Hey, are you okay?" or something like that. They didn't look back. They were just looking out in the horizon, right? They didn't look back. They could. It's like if they couldn't hear us. And my mom speaking in like my native language, Urdu tongue, and she's like, it could be someone that's like deaf or something, like hearing impaired. So probably, but they were safe, right? They were just sitting down, you know, looking out in the horizon. So we keep going. And here's the strange thing. As we are walking now, we've probably walked two football fields, like away from that second encounter. The same kid is being seen, and this time another kid, similar height, everything looks the same. Two of them are just standing there in the water, about, like, I would say waist deep. They're just looking out, like, still. Like the waves are not affecting them. They're just looking out in the horizon. And that's when, like, I realized they were not living people. And so, that's it. And they were just looking out into the horizon. And there were riptides around that time because the flags were up, right? So there were riptides. The ghost boys were out there waiting in those waters exactly where the riptides were. I did not notice that at that time. It took me a little bit after I did some research and stuff like that, and I kind of recollected my thoughts and meditated to see what they were doing there, why they were in several different spots. If a rip current took the two boys and they got unalived right there by the pier, and we were like 200 yards away from the pier, that their bodies were found, unfortunately. And then I was just thinking, maybe that's what they were. That's yes, they did. Happy, yeah. They were found after a long time, many, like, several days. One was found, and then the other. The rip currents were crazy, and so it makes me realize I think they were just standing there where the rip currents were, as if someone could see them, they would warn them or something. But it was really tragic. Like, I showed my mom the news articles a few days after we came back from the beach, and she's like, "Oh my gosh." And those were the boys. Like, they looked like that from the side of their face. That's who they were. And they were like still out there. I'm just hoping they're at peace, but it's just a sad story. And it just pops back into my head because we had several incidences this past Memorial Day weekend, not just at Galveston Beach, but probably a lot of bodies of water. There was another drowning somewhere in Texas. I forgot. But this was like in a lake. And it's just water has been an issue of late. In the last month, water has been an issue, either flooding or something like that. And even around the world, like, it seems like water spirits have been very angry with humanity, and they're coming back to bite. And it's just, nature isn't really happy. Let's see, water. No, I can't. I mean, I can't druid, to be honest with you, because water is one of my like elements of healing. So it's just sad. I know I have experience with rip currents myself. How many people don't know about rip currents? And I know it's summer, so I just wanted to put it out there. But if y'all are at the beach, like, please, please study about the rip currents, what they look like, and stuff like that. Sometimes I have been, there's been many times I've been taken away by rip currents, and even at like a young age, my parents would scream thinking that I'm going out to sea. I knew what they were, so I let the rip currents just take me, and I float out, 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 and to where I stop like being pulled out, and then I can still, put my feet on the ground. And I'm like, haha. So I just walk all the way around, or just, swim all the way around and then just come back. But a lot of people don't know about that. So many people don't. So just stay safe.
So, little quick story here, guys. I have been in the middle of a battle. I just want you guys to know that my toe is bleeding profusely and I've been battling a bug. But I was listening the whole time.
A bug?
A bug.
Yes, yes. Oh my God, a demon bug from the pits of hell. Anyway, just thought you guys should know.
All right.
Yeah,
It's still bleeding.
I tripped over something, and I don't know. I was just like, damn, my toe really hurts after that, and I got to look at it. There's like blood all over my toe. But we do have a guest, so you guys
Say,
ready?
are you okay?
I think I'm okay. Yeah, I'm more shook up from the bug than the toe thing.
It was a cockroach. wasn't
No, luckily, actually, I could handle that, I think. That would be less terrifying. I can't even say the word. Does anybody, there was one person who knew my ultimate fear, and he's not here anymore, so he can't tell you guys what the word is. TJ might know what it is that I'm terrified of. But Lexington, Kentucky is really full of them, and you can't keep them out of your house, and let me just make sure it's still dead. Yeah, okay, its body's laying there. All right,
Okay.
I'm gonna bring up the guest, guys.
it? Harry.
It's not a spider. No, I don't mind spiders, actually.
Oh, I'm
Hello,
severely
welcome.
arachnophobic.
Twin, are you with us? Are you with us? You guys hear anything?
I hear crickets.
Oh, okay. I think it must have been accidental. Okay, no, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say the bug name, and then I'm gonna proceed to quiver all over for the rest of the night. It's a centipede.
Oh, those are pretty unpleasant, though. So
A centipede?
Don't say it again, Ollie. I can't even stand the word. I can't even I can't. Mm-mm. I hate it. And you know what's funny is that all of my life in Eastern Kentucky, I never saw one of those things. Never. And the minute I moved to Central Kentucky, they're everywhere. They are everywhere. Ugh. I'm like, oof. Just don't pay attention to me if I twitch ever so often.
I never knew they existed in that side of the world. That side of our continent, actually.
Yeah.
No, they were always like a
Well,
southern or tropical thing.
that's a different one. Yeah, that's a different one. Just type in that word that I can't say again. Whew, the goosebumps. And then before that word, type in house, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Oh, God. And I'm so thankful for my cats because I have the best hunters on the face of the earth. They are the best alert system, and they will chase these things down. And that's how I knew there was one in the room, and they were trailing it. And then I ran and got my fly swat, and I beat it with my fly swat.
I'll have to look up and see if there's any particular plants or herbs that you can use to repel them.
Yeah. You know what? On the Neighborhood app, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but there's this app called the Neighborhood app. This time of year, everybody is posting pictures of them Like, how do I get rid of these? What is this? Why is this in my house? Because, people move here and they don't know about them until they like move into a house in like Lexington or Richmond. Richmond's really bad for them. And it's like, well, surprise, surprise, you're stuck with them forever. It's like there's a vortex here where they literally crawl straight out of the pits of hell into your house. So there's nothing you can do, I don't think. We put out bug spray and stuff, or like bug powder, and it thwarts them a little bit, but not enough, you know.
Yeah, so yeah. What? Hold on, I gotta find there. What Civilized was saying. I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to necessarily state that because I know that mints and different types of mints will repel like spiders, but I didn't know if it would repel those as well. But yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Try
one
lots
of
of
the
peppermint.
reasons that I think they come around because I don't kill my spiders. So, like, I have spiders everywhere. I'll let them go. I don't mind. But they eat spiders, and I think that's one of the things that draws them in.
Oh, that they do.
Yeah.
It's like, what is in Kentucky that kind of insect would like? I know we have things here, like in like Eastern Texas, as a food source, but I'm just like, I've never seen that. But no, when it
Yeah.
floods, you know what we get? We get a bunch of snakes. During Harvey, they were just all coming up because our entire subdivision was like built inclined, so everywhere around us kind of flooded. But we had some little baby gators, but it was snakes because the thing was wet, and I could swear I counted maybe between me and like three backyards down with the little binoculars. I counted probably seven moccasins, as if they were having a party. They were spread out, but they were having a party. I'm just like, oop, nope. I put it out on my neighborhood Facebook. I'm like, keep your dogs inside. No bath time at all. Like, it's not happening.
I've never been bothered really by snakes. Like I said, I mean, I'm severely arachnophobic. That those bother me.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was just because of the moccasins. Anything else? I mean, water snakes, they'd be all right. It's just the moccasins. Well, they bite you, and you're in the middle of a hurricane. You're not getting to a hospital in time. That's
Yeah.
just
I don't mind snakes myself, but if they are venomous, I don't want to be around them. But honestly, I think I would be more comfortable if my house had been invaded by snakes of most kinds, not any kind, but whew, yeah. Wow, I'm sweating now. We have a guest.
yeah, no, no.
If I could get the button to work, holy cow. If I could get. Hello, welcome.
Oh yeah, take a lead. Learn nothing. Are we here to learn or are we here to sell?
Hello, welcome.
Hello? You left the app. Hold on. You had a good story.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he was saying something in the comments about he got chased by Hogzilla as a
Uh
kid
oh.
and he saw a seawall thing. I want to know about. I have not heard a Hogzilla story in a while.
Oh,
Um,
it's just like I know some people like that. Yeah, I'm good.
well, he's gone. um, yeah, totally. It's interesting. I heard the other day on another stream that if, like, there are some places outside the USA, if you don't have 200 followers, you can still go live. So it could be that they were a resident outside of the country. Sometimes that's the case, but also I think they're kind of like letting I don't know, TikTok's getting a little bit more I don't know, not really lackadaisical, I guess, but they're letting other people go live too because it's become such a popular aspect of the app. That's probably why. Um let's see. Well, we our guest is gone. He got sucked into a black hole apparently. Hopefully he comes back. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Until then, guys, we do paranormal stories, extraterrestrial stories. Scooter, are you okay? Um, we do cryptid stories, unexplained stories. We want to hear your spookiest spooky story. So if you have a story you want to share, hit that little pink of a blue button. Come up, tell us about it. Also, guys, go interact with the new video that I posted. It's actually a very interesting ghost story. But it is being, I'm trying to think of an alternate way to say this. It's being squeezed by the system. So it's not getting, yeah. I know why. It's because I won't pay to play. We'll call it that. I'm gonna try to do something about that this week because it's kind of crazy. Honestly, like, yeah, I better not say anything about it because then I'll get in trouble on here. But yeah,
Yeah, they did
just go
something
check
like
it out.
that with one of the videos I did because they said it was like unoriginal or something like that. I don't remember. It's like, how is it unoriginal? I literally used your own stuff to make it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's weird. There's a lot of glitches going on right now too. So, do you have an alternate name? Me? No. Well, actually, that's not true. I do have a pen name, and I'll probably come up with more pen names because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I'm going to start writing cryptid smut pretty soon.
I did
Still
know
my
that.
idea, and I sue. Just saying. I don't know though, for real, the cryptid smut thing. I'm not really a smut reader, so I don't know. I don't really know how to write cryptid smut, but I have some ideas. I just don't know. Like, should it be comedic or should I go full serious? Like, I don't know.
Do a little of one side and do a little of the other and see which one you like better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it would be more comedic than anything else, but then again, there's always Rule 34.
34, the magic number that we were talking about earlier. That's all I can think of now.
Yep. Don't look up, his name in Rule 34. Just don't.
All right, guys. Somebody better hop in that guest box. Don't be shy. Come up here, tell us a story. Don't make me ramble about the weird live streams that I see at 3 o'clock in the morning on this app. There was another one recently that I was like, what in the world is this? I don't think any of them. Oh, thank you, Civilized. Thank you for that. I don't think any of them really can top the guy who puts the demon in you, though. I
That
feel
is
like
pretty
that
good.
is, yeah. I mean, it's genius from a marketing standpoint. So,
I don't know why people want a demon inside them. Like, that's just a lot of work. And who's gonna fix that?
Who's going to give the demon therapy?
Why would a demon even want to? That's the thing.
I don't know. There's some people out there that I think even if a demon entered into them, they would be like, nope, I got PTSD. I'm going to go.
I ain't staying here. Yeah, for sure. I mean, are there really that many spare demons just laying around somewhere, though?
I don't know. Like, people tend to always give all of the credit, in regards to anything malevolent to demonic forces, when they keep forgetting that, I mean, demons are kind of central to a very specific area of the world. Everywhere else, they don't have demons. So,
Yeah, I just feel like so weird when people are doing like any kind of like spiritual whatever, like any juju, I would say. Like, what is the umbrella term for it? But any of that kind of like, like woo woo, I would say, on the internet and expecting some challenges or anything to come through a screen. I'm just like, even though, and I hope people are not paying a lot of money for this, I'd be more impressed if he was doing it personally with the whole ritual and everything. I was just like, I know it sounds like people are doing things that's just a little bit too easy. It's just some things cannot be done so easy. Like how the spirit boards and stuff like that, right? You want to make a powerful like spirit board or something like that. Yeah, I mean, well, witchcraft, that's also, a part of it, I would say, like, he's like having voluntary possession happening or something. Come on up, come and get your possessions. $100 on sale.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
the demons are free, by the way, guys. You don't even have to like pay them or anything. They're free.
Oh,
I saw somebody in the comments was like, "Host lady, you're hot AF." While I sit here and stuff hot Cheetos in my mouth. Thank you. I just beat a bug to death. And my toe is bleeding, but thank you. Holy cow. Guys, somebody come up here and tell us a story. We want to hear something spooky. A Bigfoot story. More Bigfoot stories. We had a few good ones tonight. We need some more.
yeah. Or ghost stories, or cryptids, or
yeah. Y'all
anything.
heard of the, what is it called? The bat squatch?
That's from up here.
That's y'all, that's up there?
Yeah, it's up here.
Okay, because I want to, if anybody's seen the bat squatch, I want to know a little bit. This was something that I saw and I heard about it from, it was kind of, I think it was a documentary or like one of those docu-series where they're looking after cryptids or something like that. That's how it got into my head, bat squatch. I'm like, a Sasquatch with wings. I would like to know. And I'm just really curious anybody has any of those stories or if you guys have more information, Druid, you know about Bat Squatch? The
I know
mythic.
that it comes from up in this area, but I don't know a whole lot about it personally. I wish I did so I could tell you, but I mean,
Sarah, what about you,
Well,
Bat Squatch?
no, I don't think I've ever heard of that one, but we do have a guest. Let's see if they've heard of it. Wouldn't that be cool? Be a coincidence from hell, maybe. Hello, welcome. Have you heard of Bat Squatch?
I have not heard of Bat Squatch, and I'm completely interested.
I think it's a new one on us too,
hold
because
on.
I don't know.
I have a book I can dig up while we're waiting for while we're listening to Geek's story, and it has reference to Bat Squatch in it.
Awesome. So in the meantime, Geek, did you have a spooky story for us?
I do have a spooky story. I can't tell you if it's just a ghost or if it's a spirit or if it's anything else, because to be honest with you, I don't even know what it is. But just long story short, well, I guess shorter, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, I want to say about a handful of years back, about maybe 10 or so years back, I was staying with with my grandparents at the time, and we were staying for a while, enough to get to know the neighbors and everything. We had this weird older man that passed away, like literally in the apartment above us. And at the time, I was getting my room redone, getting new beds, new furniture and everything. So, me, my sister, and my grandparents ended up sleeping in just one room. Now, just a little bit of backstory. My grandparents, they pack a lot of stuff in their room. So I had to sleep in like this little cot, like stuck in the corner, doing like some type of Tetris move. And there was no way I was, moving out of there once I actually got in. So sometime in the middle of the night, I get up, I'm, maneuvering out somehow, going to get a drink of water, checking on things. And I know as far as facts go, I went, got a cup, did my little thing, looked around, noticed there was a light in my room with the door closed. And I went in there, and like far off in the corner, there was a man that was standing like almost, he like casted his own shadow in the corner. I don't know. I just was surprised at the time. And I told him, I said, hey, you're not supposed to be in here. Like, why are you here? Like, you need to leave. And, then I started, like, he faced me all of a sudden. Honestly, I thought it was the Hatman, but he doesn't have a hat. He didn't have a hat. He was like clean suit, older suit. Seemed like almost displaced in time. And this guy turned towards me. Can't see his face really because it's just like he's under a lamp, but he, like I said, he's casting his own shadow. I don't know, it was weird. And I noticed he wasn't standing. He was like floating in some type of mist. And I was just thinking to myself, like, how, you notice your process of thinking. And I was like, that's so weird. This guy is like not supposed to be here, but he's floating. Like, why is that? But for some reason, like once I noticed it, I felt like he noticed that I noticed. And he started inching closer and I couldn't move. And for some reason, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I couldn't say anything. And something kind of like wrapped around my legs, like almost like how a snake would like devour something, like it, like a slow process at that time, And I dropped my cup of water. But this whole time, this thing is like floating towards me, and he starts like screaming, and like you could tell he was screaming, like his jaw like dislocated. And he was just screaming like a scream of like a million people screaming. And the more he screamed, like I felt like I couldn't, like the breath was like leaving me. You know what I mean? But for some reason, this is beyond me. For some reason, something ended up like grabbing onto my shoulder, and it was kind of like, okay, you're good, you're okay, you need to leave out of this room, you need to leave now. So I went back to my grandparents' room, closed the door, and just as I was about to lay down, I opened my eyes and I was standing up. And my grandmother, she was to wake up super, super early just to get ready for work and everything. And she was in the middle of like conversating. I just assumed that she was talking to my grandfather. Comes back into the room and she's like, yeah, but you should never be afraid of, death or anything, because, she was very religious. She was telling me about her religion and everything. And I just told her, I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, I never talked to you. Like, we never had a conversation. I'm just now waking up. No, you've been awake for a while. What do you mean? It's like 4 a.m. already. Like, why would I be awake right now? I'm just waking up. Like, I don't even know why I'm standing. Well, you were asking me about, what death feels like and why it's not like how it is in the books and, all this other stuff. And I was like, what are you talking about? Apparently we had this long-winded conversation ever since she woke up. And I don't know, I was just kind of like in a daze a little bit. So I go and I'm like, you know what, I just feel like I really need like something to drink. Like, I'm kind of freaking out. I went to go get another cup of water. I go in the room because I noticed that the door was a little bit open. And my previous cup of water was in the room. And there was like a soak spot in the carpet. So I was like, there's no way that I would have gotten up and done that. And I assumed maybe I sleptwalked. But I've never done it before. I've never done it again. That was the only time I've ever encountered anything like that. Thinking back on it, after a few years, it did look like a younger version of the guy that died upstairs. But I wouldn't know. I still don't know to this day what it was. And my grandma, just shortly after that, she ended up getting like a really, really heavy case of dementia. I don't know. Like I said, it could have been coincidence. But I just find it kind of weird that like when I was caregiving for her, every once in a while she'll mention like, "Oh, do you remember that conversation?" You know, every once in a while, blue moon, very very sudden blue moon. But what's your take on all of it?
Um, I don't know. Ollie, Druid, you guys have anything? I'm usually just an observer of the paranormal. People ask me all the time on here, like, "Oh, what do you think this is? What do you think it means?" I have no idea. But it's interesting nonetheless. And stuff like this, definitely leaves a mark when it happens. So it means something in some way. But Ollie, do you have something?
I'm sorry. I was just knocking some of these orbs out. I stepped on a piece of foam and it just blasted with the fan going everywhere. um, it could it could to me sound like it was something that you felt. Like honestly, whenever you feel something and you kind of like suspect, it's more than likely that. Not to be definite about it, like, was it the spirit of the gentleman that had passed? I couldn't tell you. I wasn't there, nor am I near. But I would say that what is left was probably a passing spirit or spirit on the verge, I would say. It sounds like, because with some of my experiences, it seems similar to that. When you have, if it was you and not like a doppelganger kind of a thing, then yes, it was probably a passerby spirit or a spirit in like the in between that just when it answers our conversation. If it was you, then you were like dream walking or like sleepwalking, and you were asking. This was probably like yeah, you were probably dream walking, and you probably had spirit messages because when you walk, you were in that in between world, and in that sense, you had 1 foot here and 1 foot there, and you were still conversing with your grandma about it because you saw stuff. It could be that, but I'm not sure. I can't say for definite. But what you're describing to us seems like your interpretation of it is pretty much on point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's more of an answer than what I've gotten over the years. I'll tell you that because I had somebody tell me that it was like some type of banshee or something, or like some type of um creature that ended up, I don't know, sleeping on the same pillow, and I was like, what do you? That doesn't make sense. I don't know, but this
Yeah.
makes
Banshee
a little
just
bit more of a
means
sense.
woman of the mounds. I mean, it wasn't until the Christianization of Ireland where they demonized the banshee into being the malicious spirit. But before that, it literally just means a woman of the mounds.
Yeah, like spirits that will want to, like, as the West describes as banshee, um like the harbingers of death, they would be pretty much more of a warning, or a warning against from wherever you're going. So I would say that I don't think it was that. I think this was like a slight glitch in the Matrix slash dreamwalking situation where you probably were in that further space and you saw things, and
Mhm.
but you can still communicate in the world of the living, and that's when probably your grandma and you were having that conversation.
That does make sense. That does make sense. If Do you guys have any like book recommendations now that I kind of have an idea of what it could be? Do you guys have any book recommendations so I can read up on it, or
Druid?
any like
I
website recommendations?
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Gosh, you know what? Continue to follow us, uh, Geek, and I'm gonna try to look. I have to go down to my library and see what I can find in the morning. For dream walking, right, or astral projection experiences.
Yeah.
So I know that there's actually information on the CIA's official website now in regards to things like astral projection. Like it's actually there.
Oh, like one of like the release things.
Yeah,
All right, I'm gonna
they
look
do
into
like
that then.
astral projection, and they also talk about oh, what was the other thing that they talked about? Like I saw it on there.
Well, I'll definitely look into it, but I appreciate you guys letting me on and giving me any information that you guys did have. Um,
Of course. Of
I'll
Yeah,
course.
see
thank you
you on
for
the flip
coming up and
side.
sharing your story with us. We appreciate it.
Anytime, anytime. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, you too.
Yeah.
By the way, I did find out information on Bat Squatch.
Oh,
Tell me.
really? So, like, it's a legit thing? Because I was
Yeah.
thinking, like, wait a
So,
second, is
uh,
this a real cryptid?
this is just a short little page description. It says Mount St. Helens slogan, "Come for the scenery, stay for the terrifying cryptids and magma," is an active volcano in the Cascade Mountains that boasts a volcano cam, zipline adventure, and gift shop. The volcano erupted in May of 1980, producing avalanches that could have filled 1 million Olympic-sized swimming pools with debris. Around that time, Mount St. Helens also produced the Bat Squatch. After the eruption, people around the mountain began to report seeing a 9-foot tall bluish-purple ape with blazing yellow eyes and enormous bat wings. The Tacoma News Tribune carried an article in April 1994 about an 18-year-old Brian Canfield's encounter with the monster. While driving along the edge of the forest, Canfield's pickup unexpectedly shut down and crawled to a stop. According to the article, he saw the feet descending, bird feet, claw feet, then the legs, the torso, the chest, and the wings folded, attached to the back of the broad shoulders. Then the head. That face, the creature, 9 feet tall, 30 feet away, blue-tinted fur, yellowish eyes, tufted ears, and sharp, straight teeth. With a dust-raising thud, it landed. The monster glared at Canfield for a while, how long he didn't know, then it spread its wings and took off. With the beast gone, the truck started and Canfield sped home. In 2009, 2 friends hiking around Mount Shasta saw a Hulk Hogan-sized ape with leathery wings flying from a crevice and disappear into a grove of trees. In 2011, a Washington man walking his dog saw something large in the sky with bat wings, blue fur, and eyes glowing red. It was about 9 feet tall at the least. After I watched, it just flew away. So yeah, that's Bat Squatch.
That one part of the story where they said Hulk Hogan, I immediately imagined the Bat Squatch kind of like as it flew over, just casually was like, "Hey, brother."
Oh yeah.
Oh wow! I can't believe that this is a thing. How have I never heard of Bat Squatch? I love it.
It was a thing, and it just kind of randomly puts out like a thought in my head. I'm like, wait a minute. I remember this somewhere, and the only reason I ever heard of Bat Squatch was, and I'm trying to figure out what series it was that mentioned it. It was like one of those cryptid series, like Monster Hunter or American Monsters or something like that. I'm trying to figure it out, but that's how I heard it. But this is the first time I'm hearing from Druid that it was a North story. I do recollect that it was a story in the South. I don't know if it was more. I think it was like towards Texas or like North Texas, or something like that. I did not know if it was something around Mount St. Helens. That's a first for me. So it seems like this bat squatch is real, and I hope you make one of your fun cryptid videos on that.
You know, I don't branch out of the Appalachian region, but I feel like I'm gonna have to at some point. So maybe I will. Maybe I'll talk about Bat Squatch. But
So yeah, and the book that I found it in is called "Chasing American Monsters" by Jason Offutt, and it actually has like all your different states, and then it talks about different cryptids that are found within those states. It's quite interesting.
Cool. I will look and see if my book app has that because I just like to read it out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of like a
that
yellow
sounds
cover with like Maine Goat Man, Washington Bigfoot, and Ozark Howler are on the front of it.
Yeah, I think I see it. So, two things. One, update on the bug. It's gone. I know that I attacked it with all of my might, so either my cats ate it or it came back to life and it ran. Let's hope that the cats got it, I suppose. Although I'd prefer that they didn't eat the bugs, but what are you going to do? And second of all, I saw somebody popped into the chat a minute ago and said that they had a story and then they vanished. So, person who said that you had a story, if you're still here, feel free to hit the button, come up in the box, and tell us your story. Oh, maybe this is them? I think this might be them. I'm so bad with like usernames, I forget instantly what
Yeah.
everybody's username is.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, thanks. Hold on, this sounds really weird because I can barely hear you guys.
Oh no, are we
Yeah.
having like a? Let me drop you and then you come right back.
All right, give me a few minutes. Let me pop in some headphones and see if that'll work.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, sometimes the audio glitches are a little bit, out of
Wonky.
control. Yeah, unfortunately. So we'll give him a second to come back. I'm interested to hear this because I saw that he mentioned he's a non-believer, and I do very much like stories from people who don't believe in the paranormal and have never had experiences until they have the one, and then everything changes. Um, and guys, real quick, go interact with my newest video that I posted. It's a ghost story. It's about a little girl, and it's a really peculiar story. And I'll tell you what's funny about that story is if you read about this story anywhere else, it's interesting the spin that they put on it. So I put my own spin on it, the way I interpreted it. I obviously always do that, but this time I was really like, wow, this is interesting that they, retold the story this way. But it's about a little ghost girl who may have like reached out from beyond the grave to tell people what happened to her. So go interact with that if you can. Just leave some wild comments or something. Click like, click share, whatever. Hello, welcome back.
Hey, thanks. I'm just
Can you
scrolling and
hear
I
me?
saw you guys. Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love all this weird stuff. So I saw you guys chatting about this stuff and I thought this would be kind of cool. And you were asking for stories. So, like you mentioned, I'm a non-believer. I have like kind of a weird history of like going to weird places and looking into things, and like I'm not the person that sits at home and speculates. I kind of go out and check things out. But I'm currently still a non-believer. But I do have a funny story about Robert the Doll down in I can't remember It's not Fort Myers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Robert the Doll.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Okay. Anyway, it's one of those weird doll stories, and it is alleged that Robert, through circumstances, ended up murdering someone. So there's a lot of weird stories surrounding this doll, and Robert is on display in this gift shop down in South Florida, and you can go see him. And it's a really interesting setup, and I was really excited because I'd heard so many stories about Robert the Doll, and they were all so weird. And we go into this gift shop, and me and the friend that I was with, and they had taken me as a surprise, and they said, "Hey, I got to show you something." So we went to the counter, and the lady said, I said, "What are we doing here?" And she goes, "Oh, you must be here to visit Robert the Doll." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So my friend says, "Yeah, this is why I took you, so you could see this thing." And you go into this little room, and Robert is sitting. He's in his little sailor outfit, sitting in a chair in the middle of the room, and it's a very like eerie kind of setting. It's very like touristy and kitschy kind of a thing, but it's a little eerie because he's just chilling in the center of the room in a glass case. And one of the things that the lady at the counter said is that if you're going to, I asked if I could take pictures, and she says yes, but you have to ask Robert for permission to take photos. And I said, okay, yeah, whatever, that's fine. We go in there, and I start snapping photos of pictures. I'm not going to ask an inanimate doll for permission to take photos. And we're done with Robert and everything. We start heading back. I live in Orlando, Florida, and we start heading back. And before I get to like what happened, I'm going to tell you that I'm a very neat person and a very clean person. Like my house, you could like eat off the floor. It's always very clean. And I have two kitties. I give them flea meds and all their treatments and all these things. So everything in my house is very clean. And at the time, I was living in an apartment waiting for my new home to be built. So we went down to the Keys. We came back. We saw Robert the doll. We got back to the apartment and we're sitting there. We ordered pizza that night because we'd driven all day. And my friend looks over at the pizza box, like kind of weird. And I'm like, what are you looking at? And they go, just a sec. I don't know. I saw something. And they kind of lean forward and look at the pizza box and they see it again. And they kind of flinch and they go, oh shit. They see something and I'm like, what are you looking at? And he grabs his phone and he turns on his phone light and he starts looking at the coffee table that the pizza box is sitting on. And there are fleas everywhere, like everywhere. The entire apartment, like my cats are infested. You can see them on the carpet. We've only been gone for like 2.5, 3 days. And the house was fine when we left. And so, I mean, they're on the kitchen counter. I mean, the house, we had to have the apartment like bug bombed. And there was like this whole to do with the management and like all this stuff. Nobody else was affected by these fleas. Like nobody, none of the other like adjoining apartments or anything. And my friend goes, because he's more of the superstitious type, and he goes, did you ever ask Robert if you could take a picture of him? And I said, no. And he goes, you dumbass. And that was the story about Robert the doll. But it was kind of funny that it was like, is it coincidence? Was it Robert the doll? And like I said, I don't believe in these things, but I do love like a good ghost story and a good creepy story. And this just kind of seemed to fit what you guys were talking about. So
Yeah,
that's my story.
absolutely. That is wild. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that with us.
It was ridiculously infested. I was like, what? Like you could watch them jumping off the table. Like they were everywhere. And it was just, we were gone 3 days. And that's what we came back to. So I'll jump out of the box. That's my story.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing
That
it.
was awesome.
What do you guys think? Do you think that like haunted objects or haunted places can manifest as like infestations?
It depends, to be honest. It seems like I mean there have been like no there have been some stories behind certain entities, even like demonic entities or whatnot, that are very um attached to a certain thing, like flies or cockroaches or some snakes or some sort of vermin, right? It could be that. I don't know too much about Robert the Doll, but what I did hear and read about or read up on was I think it's like a conduit, like the the doll from the Warrens had the doll, another doll.
Annabelle.
Annabelle. Annabelle, like you know how it's not the thing exactly. It's not like Chucky the doll, but it's something around that doll that's attached to it. And then if it's an entity, it can probably like detach for a little bit to like kind of punch you in the gut for something
Yeah.
insulting, and then come back. It could be like that, and there are certain demons like Balal or something like that are associated with like flies or something. I'm not too sure.
Beelzebub.
Beelzebub. Oh, there it is. And see, again, not too sure about the fleas, but and then again, it is Florida. and,
Yeah, I lived in Florida and I didn't really ever see a lot of fleas. Is that a Florida thing? I mean, well, my yard was like pea gravel too, so I don't know. Maybe that. I don't know. I'll tell you a quick little story here about that. One of the places that I lived in, I don't know, some years ago, this is the place where I was on the live stream one night and somebody knocked on the wall and it caught it in the live stream. The video is still up. It's buried somewhere on my other channel on the other place. But this place was very active. Like, there was something really awful going on at this place, and I hated it, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough. But there was one particular day where I went out on the back patio, and I forget what month it was. It was warm weather, so maybe somewhere between June and August. I don't know. And the whole backside of the house was plastered with flies. There were flies crawling all over the banister, all over the stairs. I mean, it was just like, it was like that scene in the, what was it, like the Amityville Horror. They're everywhere. And I was like, oh my God. And so I started Googling it, and it turned out that it was like some type of mating season for flies in Kentucky. And I was like, whew, it's not demons. But you know, it was a sight to see. There were so many flies. I've never seen that happen in my whole entire life. Never, not one time. That's the only time I've ever seen it happen. But that specific day, and I also told one of my friends about this, and he's like, you know what's funny about that is a girl that I know, she said the same thing happened at her house today. And I was like, okay, that makes me feel a lot better because it's mating season for flies or whatever.
Yeah, I just don't know. And I saw a video on TikTok too about like, I think it was Florida. There was like a lot of mayflies or something like that, just swarming like clouds. These bugs are also getting crazy, like the Mormon crickets. Funny their name. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who
I've seen the videos here on TikTok about, and the locusts. I'm glad that we don't have the locusts. You know, there was only one time that I've lived through like a locust infestation, and it was back in the 90s when I was a kid. And it was nowhere near as bad as the videos that I'm seeing here on TikTok. I mean, there was a significant amount of them, but it was nothing like it is now.
Yeah, I'm just like, where's all the birds? Like, I'm seeing these videos, I'm like, where? This is like a buffet for so many animals. 'Cause, like, I'm just like, you know, I'm a wildlife person at heart, and
Yeah.
if I can go back, I'd be a zoologist. But the thing is, like, I'm just like, where are all of these birds? Like, where this? They're all talking about like, oh, it's the plague or it's the end times coming. I'm like, well, probably. Where are the birds? I'm just like, where are all the chirpy chirps? Because they're the ones that eat up all these bugs. And I'm glad for the area I live in because the thing is, we have not had so much, knock on wood, where's the wood? That we don't have any bad mosquito problems. But I have seen them come into the city. Out of nowhere. I'm like, what are you doing in a garage, bro? Like, you're trying to get into my car. But yeah, it's just some of those. I think nature's going wild, and nature's becoming scary, and
Yeah.
it seems like almost uncontrollable. So, Druid, I think this is for us, magic community folk. Let's dig into Mother Nature, see what's going on.
Oh, I can already tell she's pissed.
Because I was like, she been pissed for a while, but I'm just like, okay, ma'am, what am I supposed to do?
I see it as
Yeah.
a sign that we need to focus more on actual like conservation and paying attention to the environment and trying to heal nature, because we're starting to see the end result of what happens if we just discard it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you, I thought having parrots, you know, would maybe keep some types of bugs away. But my cockatoo, I have an umbrella cockatoo. Most of you all probably know that because I talk about him all the time. Every time he sees any type of bug, it can just be like a fly, he screams like a little girl. I mean, he just like horror movie, little kid scream. It's hilarious. He's terrified of bugs. So he doesn't do anything to, you know.
It sounds like your bird is a bit defective. I think he needs new birderies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. He'll put his comb up and he'll be like, ah! It's hilarious. He's adorable. Yeah, I have a cockatiel as well. I have a cockatoo, a cockatiel, and two little budgies. And The other three, they're bug chasers, but I don't know, they get bored really quick, so I've not seen them take down any bugs or anything, but I feel like maybe in the future, maybe they'll be good bug hunters. But Sugar, the cockatoo, he's out. He just screams for me to do something about it. So
I'm gonna pet bat because I know not only are they cute, but they'll eat the bugs. Like they'll be all
yeah,
over those bugs. They're weight in bugs.
yeah.
A night.
I've heard sugar gliders, those little teeny tiny cute little squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
They really eat bugs. I used a long time ago. I used to manage a PetSmart when I was doing undergrad, and yeah, like people would bring in so many weird pets and stuff like that. And sugar gliders were one of those pets that some people sell, like some of those mom pop shops. And I was interested about them. But yeah, I think a sugar glider would be cute. And they're jumpy, but if you don't like, if you're okay with squirrely little things, I think it would be a great idea. But yeah, a pet bat would be cool, to be honest. That guano.
Especially those big giant, those gigantic fruit bats. Can't remember exactly what they're called, but they're enormous. Flying fox. That's what
Flying
they are.
fox,
Flying fox. Yeah.
But then they eat fruit. They're gonna eat all yours. Well, you know what? That's great. I want someone to eat up all my fruit. Come on up.
Everybody in the comments saying that they want a pet bat. But do you want a pet bat squatch? That's the question.
I feel like petting him would be very rough fur, or maybe like some type of dog hair or something.
I'm
And
now.
smelly.
And smelly, yeah.
I'm gonna have to go look up where I saw this bat squatch. I'm gonna have to do some due diligence. Y'all gave me some homework somehow. Because now I'm like interested. I want to know where I heard about this bat squatch, and now it's like a thing now. It's spread everywhere.
Pretty soon there'll be stories about bat squatch milk.
Oh, that's
I
great.
hope so. I hope so. That's a story I want to hear.
Hi,
Hello.
Is it gonna connect?
King.
We're having a little bit of a slow connection situation tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and drop you, guest. If oh, they connected right as I dropped them. Come back in the box. Try it again. I hate when that happens. I'll sit here and wait forever, and I'm like, oh, it's not gonna connect. And when I drop them, it connects like immediately. What was his name? King.
King
Feel free to come
Leonidas.
back. Yeah, feel free to come back. We are having some connection problems tonight, though. It's a little bit slow. Um, I'm just going to let it run its course this time so I don't accidentally connect it as soon as it connects. We need Jeopardy
Yes,
music.
am I there?
Oh,
Yeah,
There
we
we go.
got you finally. Can you hear us?
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
I think we're still having some connection problems.
hello?
Yeah, I can hear you
Oh,
pretty
maybe
well.
you guys can hear me now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. What's weird is my sound was perfect all night until you brought me up. Maybe they don't want me to tell the story. So,
Yeah.
Druid, you mentioned a lot about Irish mythology and all that and folklore.
yeah.
And this isn't like a long story or anything, but I've traveled a lot of places around the world, and I like mysterious places like Serpent Mound in Ohio, or Stonehenge, and one of the places I went was Newgrange in Ireland. Have you been there?
Have not. It's on my bucket list of things to do, but I do know of Brú na Bóinne because it was the she mound of Angus MacOg, which was the god of youth and eternal beauty, and it's also well over 5,000 years old.
Yeah, yeah. The New Grange is over 5,000 years old. It's pretty big, and there's a tunnel that goes into it, and it's, I don't know, the thing might be 100 yards around. Maybe even that could be the diameter. It's pretty big, but inside there's something that looks sort of like maybe a chapel, or something where rituals were taking place, and you're not allowed to take pictures in there. But if I'm going to pay all that money to go to Ireland, I'm going to take a picture in there. So I did take a picture in there, and it came out really bizarre. It was, I don't know, it had like some kind of resplendent light. It was really shiny. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was a little bit weird. And maybe it had to
There's
do with the magic of the place.
Yeah, and there's stories and mythologies that places like portal tombs, such as Brú na Bóinne, are ways to access the other world as well. Um, it's interesting since it's technically just a giant cairn, which is a burial mound. It's where they would put people that
Right.
were deceased. But yeah, I mean,
Okay.
maybe that's what you saw was the something to do with the entrance to the other world.
I only brought that up because you were talking about banshees and other things from Irish folklore, but mainly I just wanted to tell a story real quick about relatives dying. Uh, okay, so my dad, I hadn't seen him for a long time. I was probably like 30 years old, and I hadn't seen him since I was probably 6. And I kept doing searches on the internet to try to find him. I finally found him. And it was a search that I did one day. It came up empty. The next day I did the exact same search, and he came up. So I called him, and I was shocked. He answered the phone, and he was shocked too. And I knew exactly what he was going to say when he answered. I said, "How are you doing?" And he said, "Not too good." So basically, he told me that he had terminal cancer. So he lived at the time in somewhere near Tampa, right, Pinellas County. So I thought, I lived in Pennsylvania. I drove down to see him, and it was the only time I saw him. I went and I saw him. He didn't have much time left, and he gave me a bunch of silver, those silver bullions, which today they're worth, I'd say $3,000 a piece. He gave me 12 of them. But we had a long conversation. One of the things he brought up was Coast to Coast AM. You guys all have heard of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the main show, and I had never heard of it at that point because they didn't have it on the radio to my knowledge in Pennsylvania. But he seemed like a big fan of it, and he told me that if he ever died, he would give me a message of some sort. So he did die, and I'm back home, and I used to work like 17-hour days sometimes. I worked hard, and one day after work, it was probably 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I was completely exhausted. Yeah, Coast to Coast was the best. George Norrie, he was awesome. But anyways, I never heard of it. I put on a radio station which was one that I frequently listened to, and for some reason, it wasn't music. It was talk radio. And I thought to myself, wow, that's pretty weird. Why do they have talk radio on? And then I hear the guy say that, well, they're talking about sort of paranormal type stuff. And I thought, well, this must be Coast to Coast. And the guy said, Coast to Coast AM. And I thought, wow, that is so weird. And then what happened on the show was he had callers 3 of them said that their name was the same name as my father's, and they were from Florida, which is quite a coincidence that 3 guys with my dad's first name from Florida were calling. And one of them, and if you listen to Coast, nobody ever mentions this topic. Somebody said, "So what do you think about the price of silver?" And I was like, "Oh my God, that is so weird." Um, at the time when I got them, and I sold them right away to pay off my car, the price of silver was $4 an ounce. And I think it was within a year or so, the price went up to about 50. Right now it's 30. It was around 33 a couple days ago or something, but I just thought that was kind of weird. Now, that wasn't that astonishing. There was another event with my grandma that was a little bit more. Um, when when she died, she was not doing too good, and she was laying in a bedroom, and she didn't have much time. And I thought, I'm not going to leave her. I had no desire, but the woman I lived with kept calling and calling, and she wanted me to come home. So I went outside to start my car. It did not start. And that never happened to my car before or after. So I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to stay. I stayed. She died. And then after she died, there were undertakers that came into the house. And I knew my grandma, she played the lottery all the time. And I thought, you know what, when she's gone, she's probably going to do me a favor. And so I asked them, I didn't even know, because I was consumed with the event. I said, what's the date? And then they told me the date. I said, you know what, that's going to come up in the lottery. My grandma's going to make it come up. I did not play it, but it did come up. She had the number hit. And I feel stupid for not playing it. 2 days later, she was still at the funeral home. I just think this is bizarre. At the time, I was a cab driver. And my friend was just driving around with me for fun. We would just mess with people and have fun. And anyways, when you take a call, you have no idea where it's at. You just take a zone, then you get an address. So I randomly took a zone, and it took me to a house right next door to the funeral home where she was laid out at that very moment. I called the number, nobody answered. There was nobody there. So I thought that was a pretty strange coincidence. And that's all. Those kind of things, they make you think in life. That's all.
Yeah, those are pretty amazing stories.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you for sharing. But there was a lesson here.
there was
And
what?
there is a lesson here. Next time you experience something like this, a relative is giving you a gift. Just pay attention next time.
Yeah,
Just try to be,
definitely.
okay, you know what? I love my grandchild. I love my like you're like they raised you or something. So they want to leave you with something before they leave. Um, some sort of hope, some sort of luck, something that you're taking care of, kind of like that. There have been cases that I have seen, and even in my own family, I've like near my family friends, I have witnessed something like that happen, and they pretty much dropped the ball on it.
Mm. Okay, well,
Well,
I
we
was just
appreciate you
telling,
so
I was
much.
telling my short story. I have hundreds of them, but that was one about a particular
Yeah,
theme.
just come back.
Well, yeah, if you,
Yeah, one night.
we'll be back here tomorrow night too. So if you want to come back tomorrow night and tell us some more, we'd love to hear them. But thank you, and we appreciate you.
Okay, everybody have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Wow, that's really interesting. Those are the kind of ghost stories that really get me. Like, wow.
Yeah, man, that was so nice. I wish that could happen. I was like, um, yeah, I wish, that was a great situation. It was a very sweet story, but man, makes you think like all these experiences that we had with ghosts and stuff like that. No one had hidden treasure anywhere.
Right.
And no
Thank you for the
alien.
tiny, tiny.
And no aliens coming over here to give me a vacation package or anything like that. None
You'll
of them.
get your aliens. Just keep watching the sky. You'll find your aliens pretty soon.
Yeah, I'll be the first
Or
one.
you know what you can do is you can go on that dude's stream. I will pay you to go on that guy's stream and talk to him. You gotta let me know when you're going because I want to like watch it though. But yeah, you
I
go on
don't
his
know.
stream. He apparently can summon aliens or something and send them to your house. That's what he
Okay.
says anyway. So
You can
Does he
summon all.
require you get a bag of Reese's Pieces? You know, to yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the deal. But no, the other night he was just like, "Phew," and he just summoned some aliens to this guy's house, and all of a sudden they were like pushing him around in his chair, and he's like, "Wow, wow, I can feel it, I can feel it," and I was just like, I want so bad to experience this, I want to try it, but I didn't want to go live with him, but I do want to, but I don't want to. I've never been a guest, guys. I've never been a guest on a live stream. I really want to, but I've never done it yet. Um, but
Peggy,
you guys, I have to bring this up, because like and this is something that I'm probably just in a weird spot in my life where I'm like prone to believing this. But I had two really weird things happen, and I don't know if all of you guys have already heard this. Some of you probably have, but like my mom passed away last year, and it was a big deal for me, but in a very weird way, because me and my mother were like estranged from each other. But she sent me two signs, I think. But the thing is like I don't really believe in an afterlife. I am kind of on the fence about whether this is all like a big simulation and like once we pass away, it's just the game ends and we go someplace else for like maybe another game. Or like what if our real existence is like in another universe and this really is just like a giant video game? You know what I mean? Like I think
Mhm.
about weird existential things like that and then I give myself anxiety. But I had these two experiences that I can't get out of my mind, and so like I don't know. I won't go into detail because we're about done for the night. But I don't. It makes you think about things that you normally would never think about. I feel like.
we would love to hear it one day.
Well, the first one I can sum it up pretty quickly. So actually, I didn't. My mom passed away on a Saturday, and I didn't know until the Wednesday after. Um, but on Monday, and keep in mind, I still didn't know yet that she had passed away. On Monday, I was out for my evening walk because I walk every single evening at about the same time. Don't come and kidnap me, guys. But but so I was out on my walk, and all of a sudden there was this big gust of wind hit me really hard, really directly, and it smelled overwhelmingly like roses. There are no roses, no rose bushes. Like I've walked this same route for 4 years at this point. Nothing like that's ever happened. Not to say that it can't happen. It's probable, it's possible, whatever. Um, but I immediately thought of my mom because my mom, when I was a kid, she believed all the time that her mother was coming to visit her, like after she passed away. And she'd always say, like, I know when my mom's around because I smell roses because my grandmother had like rose bushes all over the front yard. Um, and then I didn't find out until 2 days later that my mom had passed away. And that was like the first thing in my mind when I found out that evening. I was like, holy cow, I think I already knew. And then there was one day several months later where I was feeling particularly upset about it. And I remember thinking, like, I was playing with my birds that evening, because we have like playtime schedule and stuff like that. And I thought, I wish my mom could see my birds. Like, I just would give anything if my mom could see my birds. Well, then later that evening, I turned on TikTok and was going to doom scroll as I tend to do. And if I don't know if you guys know Kiwi here on TikTok, he's a conure. Kiwi's mommy does live streams from time to time, and she plays music in the background. Nowadays, she mostly plays Taylor Swift.
Oop.
But this particular evening, there was a Rod Stewart song playing in the background, of all of her birds, and it was a Rod Stewart song my mom used to sing to me when I was a little kid, called Forever Young or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, holy cow, like is this a sign? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't believe in a heaven, hell, afterlife, so I really didn't know what to make of all of this, but it made me think about things that I wouldn't have normally thought about, I guess.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely possible that there's such a thing as signs, either
Yeah.
from those who've passed on or from divine forces or what have you. I mean, whether it's coincidence or if there's something else out there is entirely up to you to believe.
Yeah, exactly. Good night, Raven. Um, yeah, I mean, there for a while, like, obviously, I just believe, like, when we pass away, we just go poof, that's it, we're stardust again. But then that happened, and I was like, this is definitely a simulation. This is all a video game. None of this is real. Because it really kind of threw me for a loop. I mean, when you have something like that happen and it challenges all of your beliefs or lack thereof, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a 50-50 chance that we're living in a simulation, so.
Yeah, like one big sim game. It's like The Sims 4.
If that's a
Yeah.
simulation, I would like to say whoever is playing me, upgrade please.
I will say the same thing about myself.
Same.
Just either just give me enough coins or whatever it is that I need to travel the world, and like go to nice little fun places and relax. I'm probably still gonna get these little spooky little encounters out of nowhere, but hey, maybe I'm always envious of the people who are Bigfoot hunting, because you know what? They're always out there in nature, and I would appreciate that. And somehow, just for that, I think a Bigfoot will run in across my path. But but yes, I mean, just like that's what I want. Like, hey, upgrade please.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If life were that easy.
I will check that book out, Tony. I'm Googling it right now so I can save it to my TBR.
What's that?
Yeah,
Nice?
no, somebody needs to like hit the cheat code console and type in Rosebud a bunch of times and send me or Motherload, give me the $50,000.
All our
guys play
base
The
art
Sims.
belong to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that would be fantastic. I wish life had cheat codes. And maybe that's what the paranormal is. It's glitches in the game.
Oh, could be. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time they put like a DLC pack on, it glitches the game out, and then we start seeing ghosts and demons and stuff. It's actually just, the code breaking. All right, guys, I'm going off the rails. I probably better shut up for the night. Let's see. Okay, so subscription, if you guys are interested, we do have a subscription here on the channel. It's access to the Discord where we do lots of fun, weird shit. Also have subscription only videos now. TikTok finally gave me that feature after me begging for it for like a year. So I finally have it, and I have one uploaded already. I'm gonna put some more up soon. Let's see what else. You get Bigfoot emojis. Who doesn't want a Bigfoot emoji? You guys spam the chat with some Bigfoot emojis, please. Oh, and lizard dude. Let's throw a lizard dude out there real quick. It takes me forever. I have to click so many buttons. Yeah, Bigfoot. There he is. There's a lizard guy. Tony, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back tomorrow night. That's another thing I was going to say. We are here Sunday and Monday night from 11 p.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. And Ollie and Druid, very awesome people. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight.
Absolutely.
Of
Let's
course.
see, what else? What else do I normally? I don't even know. Oh yeah, my video's being suppressed. I said it. Oh my god, guys, go interact with my video, please. No, really, it's a cool ghost story though, for real. Yeah, Jesse, he has been raptured. He's gone. He got yaptured, technically. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I don't know what I'm talking about, guys. It's the bug. My brain is still back there, miles away, still thinking about having to slay a bug in the middle of a live
To
stream.
prevent centipedes, I have the. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Because they got little feelers and a very strong nose.
No,
Um,
stop it. Stop it.
Rosemary oil.
Really?
Oh,
I will
yeah.
soak everything. I will
Yeah.
soak this house.
Clove and rosemary oil. You can actually what I use. I do this. I do that same concoction in the summer with when I salt my doors, like when I go and draw salt, because the little June bugs and everything, they kind of stay away from it. Like they can't come through the door because I got a storm door and a main door, both front and back of the house. So, the wind kind of knocks some things in, but I don't want them to come around to be knocked in. So, rosemary oil and clove oil. I don't think anything wants to come near that. However, I would put this around your bedroom or a place where the kitty cats aren't allowed for a couple hours until things dry.
Yeah, that's one thing I do worry a lot about is like I don't want to put any type of bug stuff in the house. We usually put it outside because I'm a helicopter mom with my cats. So
They're nosy,
I
aren't
worry
they?
a lot.
They get
They're
into
just
things.
into everything. They're like a bunch of 2-year-old children. Everything goes straight in their mouth and they roll in things and
Cats being cats.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. God, now I'm thinking about that bug. I'm twitching all over. Okay, guys, I'm going to go hide under the blankets until the sun comes out. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you all enjoy the stories. We'll be back tomorrow night at 11 p.m. Eastern. Ollie, Druid, hopefully you guys will come and hang out with us and do some storytelling. And we will see you all later. So, good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Bye.